Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, happy Monday! What happened to the Cavs last night? Oh my God.
Woo! Man.
There is not enough time on this show to express the disappointment that Cleveland is feeling right now about our 64-win regular season team.
This is the worst case scenario.
Here's your ribbon.
You know what?
Here's your ribbon
year.
for 64 wins.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
That and
Pin it on
$5
your
will get
chest.
you a small cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Pin it on your chest.
This is. I mean, I had to turn the game off. And
I did
not
too.
Listening to people because this is the worst case scenario. You play that great of a regular season, and we are down to 3-1, and you come out like that. People are tuning. They're like, "I told you so."
Yeah.
And that's just
That's
it's
exactly
tough,
what they're saying.
Tough pill to swallow.
That was as ugly a sporting event as I can
bad.
remember seeing.
That was bad.
And I've witnessed 0-16.
That was
We've all
really, really
seen all
bad.
that. I can't remember a time when I just thought, this is the most overmatched one of my teams has ever looked.
I mean, I'm trying to keep the powder dry because we got 2 hours to do on this.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
But the one thing I will say is
Got a lot of powder.
teams get blown out in the playoffs. It happens, especially on the road.
But in the first quarter?
Well, what makes this one so damning is that they gagged away game 2. Because if you don't gag away game 2,
No harm, no foul.
you're coming home 2-2 and you're like,
We got this.
all right,
Yeah.
that was bad, but it's no big deal. You're coming home 2-2, you got a chance to go up 3-2, close them out there.
Yeah.
But gagging away game 2 has put them in this awful predicament now of everything looks horrible, which last night was horrible, but it makes it look worse even than what reality shows because you are coming home. You got 2 of the next 3 at home, allegedly. So we can get into all
Well,
of it.
might not be the.
There may not be.
You know.
And that's why, like,
You got the next game at home. That's all you know for sure.
Tomorrow night's going to tell you a lot about this team.
Yeah,
So
how they
let's
respond.
dive right into it, Jay. Let me
Absolutely
get
right.
a read in so we can just dive into the next
Okay.
30 minutes before Zac Jackson joins us at 11:30 on the Cavaliers and the disappointing Game 4 performance. But our Cavaliers talk today is brought to us by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where do my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full responsibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spendings in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. You guys already alluded to it, but last night a complete catastrophe for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Got boat raced from start to finish by the Indiana Pacers, and now they face elimination Tuesday night in Game 5. G. Bush, we'll start with you, but everything that could have went wrong did go wrong for Cleveland. They got outmanned, out-toughed, out-physicaled, outplayed, out-coached, and there may not be a single positive to take away from that 48-minute display of basketball.
Yeah, it's disappointing. You win all those games in the regular season, and it makes people, you know, we heard Bulls say, I don't care about none of this stuff until they get to the postseason. And when you play like that, what it does, it puts that thing in the back of your mind where all of a sudden you already start the wheels of motion and you can already start hearing people say, you know, all right, you mess with the coach or you messing with the roster. You know, they can rationalize it and say, well, you know, we collapsed in Game 2 because we didn't have our guys. Darius was hurt in the playoffs. Donovan got injured again. You know, we were without Evan. You know, we were very close in this series, and we believe in what we build, and we're going to keep running it back. That's probably what they'll end up saying. But the damning part is that those 64 wins are going to put you in a position where this is the 3rd year in a row with this core group of guys, where you've looked incredibly weak, incredibly downtrodden, incredibly no strength in physically, emotionally, or spiritually when you get down. And I think the biggest problem with this group of individuals and this team is this. They let their ability to make shots ride and override everything else that happens in their game. I.e., if shots are not falling, if they don't see three-point shots going through the rim, if they don't get out to a good start, if the shots ain't falling, every other part of their game falls off. Their intensity, their defense, just adhering to the scouting report, passing the ball, moving the ball, hustle, physicality. All of those things are dictated on whether the Cleveland Cavaliers are making shots. And when they miss shots and they make 8 baskets in the first half, you can watch systematically how every other part of their game falls off. Guys that are running around with their heads cut off. We talk about it from a situation. Jared Allen watched the guy. Why are you? Miles Turner can shoot. Why are you with your head down trying to just his head is down. He has terrible body language, and 3 straight possessions he's giving airspace to Miles Turner with half-hearted closeouts. That's not attention to detail, the scouting report, and that is you cannot be a front runner in the NBA. You cannot let shot making control your energy, and they do it. And I'll pass it off because there's a lot of stuff to talk about in this game. The most disappointing part about it is everybody looking like they didn't understand what type of time it was. For a team that won 64 games, for a team that is not young, for a team that has veterans, not understanding that this was a make-or-break game and coming out with some intensity and, frankly, desperation and getting beat by 40, it is, frankly, inexcusable. And it just goes to the point. They may come back and win this series. It's 5% chance, I think, when people are down 3-1, they'll come back. They could come back in this series, but that's a very big part and problem of the construction in this team. And it's just the mental toughness, physical toughness. And when they're not hitting shots, they let everything else fall to waste.
Can you put up that plaque again for Allen?
Yeah, he was terrible last night. 20 minutes, 2 points, 2 rebounds.
Look, not a field goal. Took 1 shot. Grabbed 2 rebounds. What's that? I need somebody to explain to me how that can happen.
There is no logical explanation for that.
I am absolutely flummoxed. That's one of 100 things I'm flummoxed about. I think my overriding takeaway is the Cavs are a team built for the regular season. That's what they are. They lack toughness. They lack grit. They lack collectively being able to rise to the moment. That was as big a letdown from a Cleveland sports team that we had expectations for that I can ever remember. If that were a baseball game, they lost 12-2. If it were a football game, they lost 56-3.
Dang.
It was you're down 41 points at halftime. I just don't have any answers other than to say they're soft. And to quote the late Dennis Green, they are who most people thought they were. And when I watch Indiana's a crazy team. That is a perfect example of a team that is better than its individual parts. Some teams have great superstars. Phoenix comes to mind, and you watch them and you're like, what? Well, how can they be that bad? And then other teams have, I don't want to disparage their players. They have fine players. They lack a true superstar. They do. But they have guys that collectively fit together and move the machine every single night. And the Cavs have this collection of core 4 and, how many All-Stars are we going to have? And are we going to have the DPOY? And all of this stuff. And when you put them together in games that matter, they look like that.
I come out with one person. When they put them in games like that, you could not count on Jared Allen. You still can't give the ball to Evan Mobley and say, go get 30. And I can't count on Darius Garland to be healthy.
Yeah, it's Mitchell.
It's Donovan Mitchell carrying the team again. And we can squint and we can make believe that that's not what it is. But everybody else turned into regular people. Ty Jerome He's on
a milk carton.
Shout out to him for the regular season. I want y'all to understand, I'm not disparaging him. He balled out in the regular season. But this series, he looks 3 steps slower than everybody. He looks like he can't elevate. He looks lost on defense. Yeah. He looks like he's having trouble bringing the ball up the court. It just looks like the guys that they have are severely. It looks almost like the varsity playing the JV. It just looks like it.
Yeah, they're outmatched.
You go 1 for 14 and then one for 8, and then it's just tough, man.
Jay, how can a team look so great Tuesday or Friday, and 48 hours later look like imposters?
That's basketball. It happens.
But to that degree, they blew Indiana off the floor Friday.
Yeah, they did. And, I mean, we could go 100 different ways with this. If you want to talk X's and O's for a second, I said before the series, Kenny's in for a battle because he started with Eric Spoelstra and now he's got Rick Carlisle. Those 2 of the best coaches in the NBA. And I thought Rick did a really nice job last night.
Great.
The Cavs kind of threw a punch on Indy. Mike and I were talking about this during Game 3. When they went to the 3-2 zone and put Evan at the top of the 3-2 zone, I told him, I wonder if this is something they were trying to say for Boston, but the building's on fire, so you got to break the glass. And Indiana didn't know what to do with it. Indiana really struggled with that zone.
They did.
And last night
they figured it out.
They had all the answers for it last night, to the point where then they moved Mobley. They stayed in the 3-2 zone but moved Evan back to the back line. They tried different things with it. Indiana attacked mismatches. Siakam on Darius just took him to the post and whooped him. T.J. McConnell was hunting Dean Wade and blowing by Wade. Wade looked at like they blew pick and roll defensive coverages. I went back and watched most of the first half this morning.
How
just
did you
to try.
do that?
Well, I just wanted to get it. I was really more concerned with the defensive side than the offensive side.
They had so many turnovers too.
They did. They were a disaster on the offensive side.
All 5 starters had 2 turnovers at least in the first half.
It was like they were playing with the intoxication.
But I'm with
something.
Jason. The defense was way more concerning.
Clearly, they were not ready to play last night. That falls on Kenny. But it's also a fault. Like, these are grown men.
Yeah.
It's the conference semifinals.
Take responsibility.
And again, like, I don't want to run out screaming, it's over, it's over, it's over.
Right.
We'll see what happens tomorrow night. Let's see. But if this continues trending this way, they told you the issue was coaching. They brought the entire roster back, and they changed out the head coach. And for the regular season, they were right. It was the right move. The way Kenny used Evan, some of the designs that they brought on the offense, it worked. But what this series is showing you is it's not just the coaching, that there is a level of physicality and a level of play that this team, for whatever reason, is not prepared to meet the moment. And injuries are part of it. Like, we can't totally dismiss it. I refuse to use it as an excuse. Darius should have played Game 2, period. I don't care what anybody says. He should have played Game 2. I'm glad he came back for Game 3 and Game 4. And, yeah, he's fighting through it. I'm sure it hurts like hell. This is why you're making $39 million a year, dude. Yeah. This is, if you're going to be a franchise pillar, this is what you are expected to do. You think Jalen Brunson is missing all that time with a toe injury? You think Donovan is missing all that? So it sounds rough and it sounds like insensitive. This is the reality where they're at. And it's the same thing with Jarrett last year with the rib and not playing in the second round. And we wrote about that and how frustrating that was for everybody. And even people within the team were kind of frustrated that he just wouldn't get back on the floor. So there's a recurring pattern here with this stuff. So the problem now, and again, I don't want to get too far down the road, but it's worth at least pointing out. The problem now is you are now entering the second apron. And you are entering a second apron with a team that got absolutely curb stomped last night by a 4 seed that does not have an elite player. Tyrese Halliburton is great.
Yeah.
He's great. He is not a top 4 or 5 player in this league.
Not.
And that's why I want to see what happens tomorrow.
What did they do to him in Game 3 that held him to 4 points?
Halliburton? He only had 11 last night.
I know, but this is the guy that's carried them the first 2 games, and then, boom, they flip a switch. He comes out, he has 4 points.
His left wrist is severely
I don't agree.
pretty hindered.
I think, listen, Neesmith has been more physical. Matherin has been a problem child. He has been doing what he does. I think there's a fundamental flaw. And when you watch the way that the Pacers play, The Pacers understand that they have to be gritty. They have to be edgy. They have to do certain things. The Cavs, it's like if they're not hitting threes, everybody in the league is saying you can get them. Because what you start to do and you start happening is they start hunting people. Let me get Dean Wade ISO. Let me find Max Strus ISO. Let me get Darius Garland ISO definitely. And I thought that the 3-2 worked because you had Evan Mobley at the top of the key. And I'm like, this is crazy. They shut him down in game 3. Evan Mobley running around chasing people out with his length, that was wild.
But there's a reason teams don't play zone for 48 minutes.
Yeah,
It's teams consider it a junk defense. And
you
you
can
can
get away
shoot
with it.
over it. It's a good change up to a
Switch up.
fastball.
And they came back at it, and Obi Toppin was getting right down the middle of the
I
lane.
thought Kenny stuck with it way too
Way
long.
I did
long.
too. I thought the same thing.
They
They prepared for it. They were ready for it.
But
You
that's
let
why-
them have it the whole game.
That's why Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the NBA.
Yeah, he's tremendous.
And I thought they did a great job. And, we haven't even talked about the Mather and DeAndre thing yet. Because I actually thought, maybe this is going to wake him up.
I thought this was going to do
I
it.
thought so.
And you know what?
It put him to sleep.
I don't care if Hunter would have gotten ejected. It might have helped them. I thought he did the right thing because you eventually you can't keep taking this stuff. No. And teams look at the Cavs and say we're going to go right at their neck and they're not going to do anything about it. The way it was a cheap shot.
Yeah, it was.
And for him to cheap shot him like that, and then it's like he cheap shot him on the playground and then ran to the recess monitor and said, "Watch this."
Yep.
And the flop and everything else. I actually thought the officials got it right. He should have been ejected for that, and Hunter shouldn't have been. But even if they would have ejected him, you would think that would light some sort of fire under them, and it didn't. And it reminded me of the Knicks series 2 years ago where Mitchell Robinson laughed at Jared Allen, and then he did it again to him. And when Mitchell Robinson was laughing in the press conference, I thought, okay, this will wake him up. This show, pull them out now and show us what you got. And
it's exactly why I said they're soft.
And there was no answer from the Cavs 2 years ago. And then there was no answer last night. If anything, when Matherin got ejected, if anything, it gave the Pacers a lift.
It felt like they withered after that.
They did. It was 22-10, I think, 22-11 after the free throw, and the Pacers took off after that.
Players, just like humans, they have DNA. And we've talked about the group that the Cavs have put together. Boy, they're such nice guys. Aren't they nice? They're good citizens. And that's great, and we want that. And the question is, and it remains to be determined, and the good news is they've got 3 chapters left to rewrite this book. Right now, this book is looking like this unexpected tragedy. But there are 3 chapters, perhaps, left, depending on how hard they write the next chapter. I do think that this is a scalable mountain. I do.
Of course it is.
The Cavs are good enough to win this series. They're good enough to play in Game 5 like they played in Game 3. They're good enough to play in Game 6 like they played in Game 3 because that's at Indianapolis, and they did the same thing there. And they're good enough to win a Game 7 at home. What determines whether or not they do that is what's inside them right now. We know they have the talent. We know they have the ability. But it comes down to what is their DNA. What can't you change about a person? The saying is, a tiger can't change his stripes.
Facts.
You can't change your eye color. You can't change what DNA built you with. And my fear for this team is their DNA is turn the other cheek. We're nice guys. We're good guys. We're going to find out what their want to is. We're going to find out what their desire to win is. They can rewrite this awful tragedy. There are pages left unwritten. It's in their hands. What do they want to write?
They have. To me, it comes down to the fact, and I'm gonna keep it real. Max Strus has played with fire and intensity. He's been their second best player. Max Strus is
Not even close, G.
Not
intensity
even close.
for sure.
He's been intense. He's wanted it. He's done it. And I don't understand if you got, like you said, Darius Garland is making $39 million, and I don't even like talking about people's money. I just want you to show up, and I've been talking about you showing up, and when it counts the most. And here's the thing: I wouldn't even put them stats up. Listen, anything after
that's not what
anything
it was.
after halftime, I ain't looking at none of them stats. Mobley, Allen, and Darius Garland. When are you going to show up? When are you going to show up,
when
Jason?
It counts.
I told Mike during Game 3, just watch the game. Donovan trusts Max more than anybody else. That's who he's looking for.
He's shown the most.
In big moments.
He's shown the most.
He's never going to admit that. But just watch. Watch who he's looking for. Watch who he's throwing it to. Donovan is looking for Max in the big moments. Donovan trusts Max more than anybody else, I believe.
And right now, he's not wrong for trusting him more than anybody else.
I mean, he's got the finals experience.
Yep.
He's the one guy.
He's showing intensity. He's showing emotion. It resonates with me so tough. And I'm watching. It's almost like watching a bully beat up a kid. And I'm watching Miles Turner just walking a three-point shot after three-point shot, and Jared Allen and
then mocks him afterwards.
Yes, and Jared Allen is just almost saying, "Hey, just get me out of here. I don't want to get beat like this on national TV." Or I'm like, dude, you sulking is not going to stop them from being people who run away from competition. That's the primordial part of the game, is the competition level, and the Cavs simply didn't do anything to compete in a game that you would think you would be desperate for.
I got two things I want to ask you guys about. So don't let me forget the second one. I want to ask the first one, though.
All right.
It is completely inexcusable in my mind to come out as flat as the Cavs did in a Game 4 in the second round of the playoffs when you're down 2-1 on the road. Completely inexcusable. Yep. And I don't remember who of the three of you guys just said it, but that falls on Kenny for not having them ready. I'm curious because maybe I'm slightly jaded based on my own experience playing for an older coach who was not a pregame rah-rah speech guy. But to get ready for a game and to get up from an intensity standpoint, I always think that falls on the players.
That's what I said. They're grown men.
So I'm curious.
Regardless of sport, too,
they're grown. I said that's on Kenny for not having it ready, but I also
the
said
players have to take
they're
responsibility.
grown men
too,
in the
yes.
conference semifinals.
Bring it. If you need to be motivated, what is this, junior high?
I agree with you. So I just was curious.
But there's a rah-rah Hoosier speech in the locker room of "I love you guys, let's go kill them," and then there's the game plan and the X's and O's.
Sure.
And
they got completely out.
Neither one of them.
They didn't check either box.
Yeah.
What did Detroit? Their first round series. What did it go 7?
6.
6. So they won two games. At this point, the Cavaliers, with all this talent and all these awards in the regular season, and everything that we've talked about, they've accomplished 3 more postseason wins than the Detroit Pistons, which looked like a complete train wreck until our old coach got there.
So last year, the Cavs made the second round of the playoffs.
Yep, and flamed
They
out.
lost 4-1.
Yep.
If things don't go right on Tuesday night, it would be the exact same spot
100%.
the Cavs bat out last year.
Again, but it's not. It's not.
It's worse because of what they brought in.
That was
I'm
the
just
eventual
saying,
champion that you lost to.
Yeah.
No, and I'm saying you expect that next step forward.
Hell,
a much
Indiana
better
may
regular
be.
season. It's not happening. The other point I wanted to bring up, and this goes back to what G started with, and you guys have all touched on. You cannot say the Cavs have lost because of talent. This is now 2, potentially 3 seasons in a row where they have allowed skill to be neutralized by will. Basically is the best way to put it. The Cavs have refused up until this point to change the way they approach from an offensive standpoint when teams just get physical and try and impose their will on them. And it's not a talent thing.
No.
The Cavs are a more talented team than Indiana. I think they were a more talented team than Orlando was last season. I know that went 7, but remember, they were down 18 points in Game 7, and that came down to the wire. Boston was a more talented team, granted. But they cannot and have yet to show the ability to adapt when their style doesn't work, regardless of who the coach is. And if that's the case, then sure, you could keep changing the coach. But if it walks like a duck, and if it talks like a duck, y'all know the rest.
I just want look. If you're Donovan Mitchell, and people are talking about your legacy and whatever it is, listen, Donovan Mitchell, as these playoffs, the 3 seasons that I've seen him play, he is completely try to put the team on his back. The problem is when you're trying to put the team on your back and the way you play, he's a guy just doing this in the lane. He's 6'1", 6'2", and he's doing that. He's not LeBron. He's not even Kobe size. This isn't Joker. This isn't SGA. These guys are 6'6", 6'8", 6'10". This guy is 6'2", doing this. The problem with the Cleveland Cavaliers is you need other people to step up and to do something. And the problem is they just aren't doing it. They have not done it in 3 seasons. And when you have Jared Allen, who is a guy, and I'm not trying to beat up on Jared Allen, but if you're an energy guy, I heard Draymond Green say, if you're an energy guy, you have no choice but to be nasty. Because that's what you bring to the table. Physicality and energy. You have to bring it. And Darius Garland, and trust me, is it time to start saying, is Garland big enough? Is his body built big enough for him to be a player in which he is a focal point of an offense where he has the ball roughly 50% of the time? He had the jaw injury. He's had the toe injury. He's not the biggest guy in the world. When you're playing defense, they're finding him out on the court where whoever guard Darius, we're giving them the ball. And if your body can't hold up, it goes back to the construction. Can you have two small, skinny bigs, and can you have two shorter guards that when you play physical teams with guys less skilled than them, that they're going to muddy the waters? What are you able to do?
That is the question. And you mentioned Donovan carrying the team. What happens when an undersized guy like this puts himself out there for the first 3.5 games? It breaks down.
Right.
And to no one's surprise, we saw that last night. I'm surprised he was still upright after Game 3, to be perfectly honest. It all goes back to Game 2. When the season ends, you can put a circle around that one, and that is the headline that will go into the time capsule, because that's what went wrong.
Before we move on, we do have to, Donovan's going for an MRI today on the ankle. Obviously didn't play in the second half. He told Joe Vard and Chris Fedor he'll be fine to play. Wouldn't really elaborate on. The injury was weird.
We're going to talk about that a little later.
Wait.
Okay.
We are?
We're going to the whole topic on Donovan, the injury, and all that.
I thought we were talking about what would happen if he couldn't play.
Well, it all ties into the injury. But feel free, finish
because I'm really interested to hear where Jason wants to go with this.
Yeah, I was waiting.
No, we'll wait.
Go ahead,
we at least have to mention that he didn't play in the second half, and clearly whatever's been bothering him is still bothering him. I said last week the one dude who probably should not be playing is Donovan Mitchell. Because when you start screwing around with calf,
that KD stuff.
When you start screwing around with calf injuries, and I know they're calling this an ankle, but when you start screwing around with that, you are playing with career-altering disaster.
When somebody touched the back of their ankle like this,
I
don't want no parts of it.
Last thing before we bring Zac Jackson in, we'll get back to the Cavs. We'll talk plenty of Donovan Mitchell, but from an X's and O's standpoint early on, and I just want to make one point, then we can move on. How often in the first half, Jason and Jay, did we see Indiana get the switch they wanted and immediately attack the mismatch?
Yeah.
I thought Rick Carlisle was brilliant last night in finding ways to force Cleveland into switches, whether it be Garland or Strus, onto Toppin or Siakam, and Miles Turner certain times on Max Strus, and immediately get the ball down low.
And immediately score.
We talked about it against Miami.
Barbecue
I've said it a few
chicken.
times throughout the regular season. The Cavs, on paper, have the size to take advantage of those mismatches when other teams do the same to them. The Cavs, from a stylistic standpoint, didn't dump the ball into the post, and Indiana doesn't do it a ton either. They made it a emphasis to do so last night, and it got Darius in early foul trouble. It got Siakam hot. He'd struggled offensively, hadn't scored over 20 points in, I believe, 7 straight playoff games. He got going right away, and that momentum early just carried on to quarters 2, 3, 4. I thought the way Carlisle attacked the Cavaliers from an offensive standpoint was really smart, and I was disappointed. And I keep going back to that word, disappointed. The Cavs had no answer and no response and no fight to make the change, even if it – exactly.
I kept saying, they're going to fix this. In this timeout, they're going to fix this. This is obvious what's going on. And he never fixed it.
You got to think this is Dallas Mavericks with Carlisle. He ain't –
he ain't
no slouch. He ain't no slouch, bro. No, he found them matchups, and shout out to him. He found them, and I always said the Cavs, to me, they switch a lot. I always ask McNuggets, what happened to regular hedging and getting back? What happened? I don't think they switched their pick and roll up enough to kind of give them different looks. But once you get rolling like that downhill, you start going down underneath to your bigs. I thought that was brilliant because Darius got in foul trouble, and it showed that they were willing to go inside and then open the outside three up.
Remember, this is the first time for Kenny, too. This is Kenny's first time really going through this. He had a team in Brooklyn that one year went to the playoffs, but they were not legitimate, viable title contenders. So this is a first for him to navigate this.
He's got to know by now, though, this is different.
Oh, yeah.
He knows that.
Yeah.
I just was stunned at his lack of in-game adjustments. It just kept playing out and playing out.
I mean,
and
I
playing
think
out.
the horses were out of the barn across the river and across state lines before.
We can't bring them back now.
Yeah.
I wondered I hate to say this, and then we'll move on. I was glad Donovan Mitchell took the second half off.
Oh, I did too.
And I'm not saying he took it off. It makes it sound like he's like, I'm tapping out. He clearly has an injury. He could have played. If it was a 1-point game, I bet Donovan Mitchell probably would have played. He's looking at the scoreboard going, well, for what?
Yeah.
What kind of damage am I going to do to my body in the next 24 minutes when we have to somehow find a way to erase a 41-point? Yeah, no. I'm gearing up for Game 5, and let's go.
You know what, Jay? I did the same thing.
I turned the channel, and I never went back.
I said, yeah, let me go
6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Bye-bye.
Babe.
Well, we'll get back to the Cavs
Life's
in a
too
little
short
bit.
to
We'll
live in
talk
that
about
mess.
that Donovan injury. If you haven't seen the video, we'll show you the video. But we got to pivot, talk a little rookie minicamp with our guy, Zac Jackson. Zach's brought to us today by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand offering a wide range of products, from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but there are 5 brick and mortar stores across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in the only person who told us the truth from Browns camp last season about the quarterback position. It is Zac Jackson from The Athletic. And I texted Steve Becker over the weekend and said, Steve, we need Zac in on Monday to bring us some clarity from the only 2 eyes that got it right last year about what they saw from Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel this weekend. What's up, Zac?
Hi, guys. How we doing?
So who's the starter?
Probably Joe
we did
Flacco.
solve it, didn't we, over the
Yeah.
last 3 days?
Yeah. I probably foolishly underplayed the amount of reaction that there would be to Ricky Minicamp.
I refuse.
What?
I refuse to participate in this.
We
is
mocked
May
it all
12th.
day Friday. We said that we predicted what's going to happen, and we saw respected journalists, guys. That's the thing that got me. Like serious, diehard, respected journalists that were writing things and posting videos like this was...
I told you Friday. I said, you said, what storyline is coming?
No. What we talked about Friday was what happened tomorrow going to make a difference? And then we were talking about how it was going to be reported. That's 2 different things. That's reality and some sort of alternative universe that we lived in which 5-yard swing routes suddenly become, this was an elite throw from a high level.
We have Zac here, so Zac, tell us what you actually saw, because we were not able to be there in person.
Okay.
I need your first.
Did anything make you go, oh my God?
I mean, I'm impressed with the way Shedeur threw the ball. Like, it jumps off his hands, it spins it. Now, I don't think it's about how it's covered. It's more about what we've seen.
Sure.
Right? Like, this
Right.
is what an NFL quarterback's supposed to look like. So,
Supposed to.
in the realm of it, it's day 1, it's step 1. I'll remember one thing, right? I'm watching from behind. And Tommy Rees, the new offensive coordinator, and Bill Musgrave, the new quarterbacks coach, they are never further than we are from either
Right.
guy, either rookie QB.
Standing right there.
So at one point, I kind of walk over to get a different angle, and Stefanski walks over, and it's Shedeur's turn. He calls him over. He relays something to him. Shedeur goes in the huddle. Like, that's what they're evaluating. Take the play call, command the huddle, get everyone lined up. It's day 1.
Right.
The other stuff, they'll see. They know he can throw, right?
And they that's already there.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. And for Shedeur and Gabriel both, that's what it's going to be. How quickly do they process? How do they take advantage? I think the one thing that was newsworthy that came out of the whole weekend was Kevin saying, look, in rookie minicamp, it's not that much, but we did add competitive periods. We need to get these guys reps, and they need to maximize reps, so we're going to do this. We're going to sign more wide receivers because in the middle of practice, we're going to have an extra 7-on-7 session because guys have to be ready. So you look at Shedeur Sanders, he looks like he throws it like an NFL quarterback, and that's where we are. He starts on the field tomorrow with Flacco, with Pickett, with everybody else, and we'll see where they are. I think it's 2 weeks from Wednesday. Yeah, 2 weeks from Wednesday is the first time we'll actually see them full team on the field.
I'm interested in seeing what Kevin Stefanski has done and the way he's changed the way he runs practice. Can you give us some outlook on some things that he told and some coaching moments for both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders where they may have corrected them or tried to get them together on the field?
Oh, they were all getting coached, and Garrett, they were mostly next to each other. Almost every throwing drill was both guys dropping back at the same time, or certainly when they went one at a time, it was 3-4 plays and out. That's standard. What I think will happen as far as coaching points, I think he admitted the extra competitive sessions. I think it will be a little more competitive camp in general. But they're not big believers in overdoing it, guys. They're big on the sports science. They're big on this is a marathon. Whether we're going to be great or not, we're going to have fresh legs. We're going to do this. So that's what's going to change. I think he has to have some regret about how uncompetitive last year's camp was. But they scrapped the Greenbrier because they're doing 2 away sessions with other teams. It might only be a total of 3 practices, but there are going to be competitive elements of this. And I think last year they felt like, I think stuck is the right word. It's maybe not the great word. I think they got to the joint practices in mid-August, and they're like, this is how bad the offense looks. Well, what are we going to do? I don't think this year they think that because they have so many young guys, and they're in the process. So we're at this weird intersection, right, where you have a veteran team, you have enough pieces to be certainly better than 3-14. But this is really about the future, and you're probably going to have a rookie starting running back. Right, you definitely are going to have rookies filling out the bottom of the rotation at receiver and tight end if they're not playing a lot. And at some point this season, more than likely, history says it and reality says it, a rookie is going to be taking real snaps at quarterback for this team. Maybe two.
I know this is a stupid question because it's limited, but did one of the two look better to you in what they were asked to do than the other?
In just throwing the ball, it's not close. Shedeur Sanders.
It's not close
not
either.
Close. No.
Wow, that's okay. Now that's news.
That's news. But let me couch that by saying this is rookie minicamp.
Sure.
No pads, no full speed competition. But nobody coming to knock your head off.
It's telling. They're side by side, and they're not asked to do much, but they're both asked to do the same thing. And that one of them looked discernibly better than the other. I think that I didn't know that we would get that out of this minicamp.
We're standing here, Jay. They're on the field. They break the huddle from team stretch and team jog, and they go both pick up the ball and throw it. It's no question.
Wow, I think that's telling.
So okay, let me extrapolate that. You got Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders side by side. At this point, obviously in their careers, Deshaun should be a little further along. But from what you've seen at this point, where would you say comparing the two?
Well, I don't think seeing an hour of Shedeur's it makes that fair. But I always thought Deshaun's biggest problem was he held the ball, like it wasn't happening. And
and we won't find out whether that's a problem until he sees live bullets.
Exactly.
We won't even learn that in training camp.
We watched them pick up the ball and get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it jumped off.
Let me ask you this, because this was the thing that I was most interested in going into the weekend. It wasn't so much what happened on the field. The fact that they did separate themselves a little bit, at least in your eyes, I think that's progress. I think it's good that we have some sort of pecking order early. But what I'm most concerned about, or I think interested in, is what he says. I didn't see all the interviews, but I saw a lot of clips. And I have to say, I thought the way he I thought he answered everything the way I would want him to answer if I was a media expert coaching him on how to answer these questions. If you were giving him a grade on how he handled that, the moment where he said, I couldn't afford to buy my number because I don't have that kind of signing bonus. I thought that in that moment, I thought he won fans over with that.
Right.
It was funny and it was self-deprecating. And I thought, that's an A-plus answer. How would you grade him on all of that stuff?
Pretty high. And really both quarterbacks and really all of them, I thought they all have come off as impressive kids. But yeah, no doubt. And like the Tom Brady answer, he said my story's going to be similar.
Yeah.
And he immediately turned that and just said, look, that's where I got drafted. That doesn't matter now. I'm here. Yeah. The story that was passed along by Joe Vardon about the Cavs in the locker room. They played during the draft, right? And they were all celebrating Shedeur. What do you think? And he says, well, I would love to go to a game with my teammates. And he says, and I heard they won, but I didn't hear it till this morning because, guys, I was in the playbook all night.
Right.
Like, whether that's true or not, that's what you're supposed to say.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
And so, look, Dillon Gabriel was 6 years in college at 2 very high-profile programs. He's a polished kid. He's a super smart kid. Like, they're going to say the right things, and I think they're going to study. And especially for Shedeur, I think that's what it's going to come down to. If he's going to stick around here, it's going to be taking meetings, taking every opportunity, walk through, being engaged, and going out. They know that he has the ability. The grades said universally he had first and second round grades, right? So if he wants to do that and take the next step, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. It's not going to be great. I mean, not all the throws were great, right? But
sure.
those It's pick up the ball. It's an NFL arm. It looks like an NFL quarterback.
So you said at the beginning, I think you and I disagree on this because Jay was joking around and said, "Who's the quarterback?" And you said Flacco. I actually think it's Pickett. But so why do you think it's Joe?
I am not positive on that. But my thought is when they sign Joe Flacco is because they're going to go to training camp and Joe's going to come in and he's going to tell guys how it's supposed to look. Right? You need to be here. I've done it in this offense. I did it on no notice. So now we get this month and half of next month, and then we get 6 weeks when it goes. And I think that's why he's here, and I think that's why he'll win the job. They do like Kenny Pickett. And when people would say they do like Kenny Pickett back in March, I would say they can't because Kenny Pickett's backup. And he is.
Listen, that's what I've been saying all along.
I keep trying to tell in my heart and soul, I'm on this competition. Let him compete.
You can like a lot of guys, but I separate the person from the art from the artist. And I've watched Kenny Pickett. We've all seen him for enough time to know that he's a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I think, let me ask you this, Zach, because he's been pretty steadfast. It's going to be Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, a lot
and
of
I keep
Mary
hearing
Kay,
more voices saying Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett.
Didi says the same thing.
I know, but so here's what I wonder. I wonder if the team is in evaluation mode. Do we have a team that might be sneaky like we had 2 years ago and with a full year of Joe Flacco can do something? Or are these draft picks so green and not ready and we're not going to be a team that can push for 9 wins? So if that's the case, then I'm fine with Flacco being traded to New Orleans or wherever and let Pickett mud it up for a year and see what can happen and try to get a better draft pick. But if they're in this thing to win it and they think they have the pieces to win at some level, I think it would be malpractice to put anybody but Joe Flacco in there.
Mid-August instead of mid-May for that, right?
Right,
but
sure.
It is early. But yeah, I think when you look at how bad things were last year, right, and how the run game didn't help the pass game, and how the pass game did nothing, and that didn't help the defense, right?
They played uncomplimentary football.
Yeah, when the schedule comes out on Wednesday and I do my piece on The Athletic, I'm going to pick them in 4th place, right? Most people are. But I don't think it's a given that this is going to be a terrible, terrible football team. I really don't. Can they run it? Well, the offensive line, if they're healthy and Judkins is as good as we think, Ford's still contributing, I think they can run it better, right? Is Njoku going to be there half the season? Is Judy going to be in training camp? He wasn't last year. They couldn't complete a pass at all. Cedric Tillman never even played until week 8, right? Yeah. And then he had a big stretch. So they're banking on guys that are either completely unproven or who've been up and down. But the pieces aren't terrible. And if they can run it and get back, they have 2 fullbacks on this roster.
Yes.
Right? Like they have 2 drafted running backs, 1 proven running back, and a guy in Pierre Strong who's played a little bit. Like there's going to be veteran running backs become available. Like I don't think it's going to be terrible. Now, do I think if they get in shootouts are they going to win them? No. Do I think if Kenny Pickett's playing are they going to win a bunch of games? No. But I'm not I don't think this is a 3-win team. I think it can be. But I think there is at least some hope for optimism, and that starts with the defense getting a fairer shake, frankly, than the offense gave it last year.
I'm going to let McNuggets go. He'll probably steal my thunder, but go ahead, McNuggets.
No, I got one super quick one, Zach, then I got a longer one. Yes or no question. Zip?
Oh, my God.
That's the word that says Jason.
Yeah. It's like you're reading my Twitter mentions. Like, yes.
Second question.
Yes.
There was the video of Mason Graham puking during the rookie minicamp, which obviously blew up, and I think it's ridiculous that anyone's making a big deal of it.
I agree.
What did you see from the Browns? I know he doesn't get the most attention, but he was their first pick, the number 5 overall pick. What did you think of Mason Graham and the limited action you were able to see?
You just see a defensive tackle running around with no pads on, right?
Yeah, what are you going to say? Yeah.
I love Mason Graham. I think his college tape was awesome. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's going to be a player. I think he fits the way Schwartz wants to play. I think he's good enough to evolve and play multiple positions. I think his floor is good, and I think there's a chance he's part of a really good D-line here for years to come. He's going to have to live with this one a little bit, right?
But was it DeJuan Jones? Who did that a couple of years ago? DeJuan Jones did, and we talked about that for 2 years.
Can I give you this as a guy?
Did you ever puke at minicamp?
I almost gave it up in freshman camp. Yeah. And what it is, when it's only a few people there. So what people don't understand is, as a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, you're taking back-to-back reps. Yes. It's like full speed, run the hoops, get back up in 2 reps. You like, bro, guys are used to breaks. He's out there gassed. They've been doing the buffet circuit. You're done with all the training stuff, and you get out there. You thinking you come out there to do a little moving around and take some pictures. No, the defensive line coach is in your face. You like, man, it's two of y'all, and you taking back-to-back reps. You're going to be gassed. I don't care who you are. It just is what it is.
That's 100% right.
Yeah.
And he'll eventually be sharing reps with a group of 8 or 10. It's the quarterback reps that are interesting because they're going to have to create more of them, and these guys are going to have to earn them. You know,
we kind of we weren't making fun of them, but I guess we kind of were making fun of them. They showed the video on Friday of all the arrivals, which I think was Thursday, and you know, I don't know who said it. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was Bull. Said
It was Bull.
He looks like Bull
said it looks like a chubby kid from Avon.
Chubby kid from Avon. That's what he called him.
Yeah.
And you know, he was in street clothes, and it wasn't impressive. And here's what I wonder with this kid. Clearly, if he looks like that but plays like this, you know, this usually they look like Tarzan and play like James.
His tape is-
This dude kind of looks like a normal civilian and plays through the roof. I wonder because you said his floor is good. I think when he does develop into his man body, I don't think he has it yet. He clearly, to me, it looks like he's carrying around baby fat.
Yeah.
Like when he gets his NFL build to him and he's working out next to Myles Garrett, I think that would be incentive enough. To me, I look at this guy and say, holy cow, when he does find his man body, his NFL body, and he doesn't look like the fat kid from Avon, like Bull called him, I do think this guy can wreak havoc.
yeah, I would say he looks fine, and he looks like an NFL defensive tackle. He doesn't look like most top 10.
Yeah, they're not supposed to look like Myles Garrett.
Because most top 10 defensive linemen just look like they just won the genetic lottery. That's why they're there.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
Mason Graham looks a lot like many other defensive tackles on the Browns and on other teams. Not some of these freaky guys. But he's bigger than Geno Atkins was, and Geno Atkins had a Hall of Fame career.
Right.
Right? He's the same size as Shelby Harris, who's on year 13 of a really good NFL career. Like,
Larry Ogunjobi was like 250 or something. Larry Ogunjobi was thin dinner.
I think Marcel Darius, who had a really good career, played for Schwartz. I think that's the comparison that you're going to hear Schwartz give when he talks later this spring.
Really?
Mason's measurements are just short of his.
Okay,
right? And
interesting.
he's 21 years old.
I've grown on the pick a little bit. I've been watching him because I'm like, let me see this guy. He had top 5. I've been watching him. His tape is pretty good. Now McNuggets didn't steal my thunder. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm a Nick Chubb fan. I am. I would shout out to Nick Chubb.
There's a butt coming.
Quinshon Judkins looked like he might be the real deal.
First impressions are rookie minicamp, right? Judkins, his muscles have muscles. Like he's built to be an NFL running back. And you look at his testing numbers, they're like Nick Chubb's. You look at where they drafted him, they're like Nick Chubb's. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it to
See, I let him
get
say it.
played back. I'm not saying it to put undue pressure
You
on
let us to
Quinshon
the water,
Judkins.
we'll drink it.
Right? Why did Judkins go in the top 40 picks? Because
Yeah,
that's
there's
what
a
he looks
reason.
like and that's what he runs like.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm interested to see what happens with Ford. He's very tradable going down the road. You know, Dylan Sampson they like. It was a surprising pick because they had already selected one running back, and he's a smaller guy. But Judkins is a 220-pound, high-level NFL running back prospect.
Wow. If you had to say someone won the weekend, and it could be anybody.
No, I mean the guys that made the team, the tryout guys that made the team.
Kid from Kent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they won a chance to do that. But
How did he look?
I mean,
He made the
he's
team.
small, but he's gets in
Floria,
the right
right?
place. Yeah.
Made the team.
Luke Floria?
Yeah, and listen, he produced at Kent State, and they were so awful. Like, he was on radars.
He was the only player
went to
doing
one of the
anything at
All-Star
Kent. They lost 13 games.
Yes.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
What do you make of Kevin Stefanski? Should we read anything to this? Like he had 50 dudes out there. Like there were some times at camps you can count the amount of bodies they got in camp. It looked like they really was looking.
It's a great question. Sometimes you're just doing the camp to do it, but when you have 2 quarterbacks, you want to have a camp. And when you have a team, there are jobs open, and these last 10 roster spots are going to be in flux all the way through. They wanted to have guys in there and give them a look. They brought in multiple fullbacks, tight ends, safeties, positions that they're going to need guys. So when you think about it, 53 make the team, right? 16 make the practice squad. So you add in some injuries, some veterans that might get cut or traded, right? Like 90 dudes are going to be on the field 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? 75 to 80 of those dudes are going to stick around in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Browns and you look how thin they are at offensive tackle, right, at linebacker, I know they just added a safety today. Like, these dudes are going to play, right? So they're practice squad last year or they're in rookie minicamp now, but they're going to play for better or worse.
Wow.
Are you surprised? It's totally off topic of rookie minicamp when you mentioned tackle. Are you surprised Jed Wilson's still unsigned?
It has to be the injury. It has to be at this point. So yes, I am surprised.
I am too. Like I know, like we
How
all
often
bang
does
on.
that happen?
I mean,
like where a guy doesn't get a second. Where was he drafted overall?
10.
10th.
Jeez.
And it's the knee, right?
Yeah.
I'm not putting this on nobody, but I just know when you have degenerative stuff where it's just like it never quite heals after that.
It never gets back to what it was,
Right.
and that could be a problem.
Right. And guys fall off the radar all the time, but left tackle, every team needs him. Right?
That's why it's so surprising to me.
Yes. So when he didn't sign immediately after the draft, and I need to dig into this, like it's got to be something to where like you have to call us back later because he just can't go right now. And that's what I thought last year when he wasn't out there at the very beginning of camp, and then still wasn't out there in the third week of camp.
Sure.
Or like what's going on, and he was never right. How he chose to present it is what made the headlines, but he was never right.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily a win.
So how's this going to go now with the quarterbacks from here? Like, lay out the timeline of what people can expect as we move forward from now into the start of training camp.
So they're going to get 2 weeks of the last phase of the offseason stuff to where they're out like an hour a day, hour and a half a day. Quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, running backs. So they're not going against anyone, but they're out there with their coaches. They're in meetings. They're scripting what they're going to do, and they're going to go out and throw and get seen. Then starts up to 10 OTA practices, right, where the full squad is there. You get 90 minutes, and it's practice. It's no contact, but it's a condensed day. You start with meetings, a walkthrough, and then you go out and practice. And so that's where the divvying of the rep comes in, because you're going to get live 7-on-7 and occasional 11-on-11 action. Right, like last year, that's when they brought in Tyler Huntley because they needed a second quarterback because DTR was still banged up. Right, and Deshaun was on that throwing program. So Kevin Stefanski, Tommy Reese, those guys are going to have to look at the 4 QBs and decide. And this is why Gabriel and Sanders are going to have to earn their reps. And so I think if Shedeur continues to impress and do the right things in the next few weeks and in the meeting room, that he will earn more reps. Because, look, why don't third and fourth quarterbacks make it? Probably most of them aren't good enough. But when they do play, they get limited reps, and they're playing with undrafted free agents and XFL guys in the preseason with big defensive ends who are going to make the team or beating a third-string tackle and chasing them down. Right? So throughout June, 3 days of mandatory minicamp, like I said, up to 10 practices. It won't be all the guys at all 10. Like, those are your opportunities to take advantage of the 7-on-7. Install some plays, take them to the huddle, get out there, throw it confidently, and get in line. They're not in a hurry to trade any quarterback. They shouldn't be. They're not in a hurry to make any decision. They shouldn't be. So I roll my eyes when Kevin says we're not concerned with who takes the first snap, right? Of course that matters. And he knows that we're all going to be tracking every snap. But every snap matters to an extent, and how they earn them, to me, is going to be more telling than what they look like showing up on your Twitter.
How does this crowded quarterback room, and it's an interesting quarterback room in that some of them, sometimes you just got a placeholder. There's just a body there. You said Huntley last year. Like, these guys are all here with a purpose. They're all here with intent, and they all can't stay here. So New Orleans, for instance, all of a sudden Carr retires, and they just leapfrog past the Browns as the worst quarterback room, or at least the most questioned quarterback room. At some point, someone's probably going to be traded. How do you see, from the timeline question, how do you see that playing out? Like, at what point will it become important? Before training camp? After training camp? What?
I would say into training camp at the earliest, because you're not in a rush. 2 Augusts ago, they traded a quarterback, right? They traded Josh Dobbs, and that got DTR over his head, right? They tried to trade DTR last year. They even tried to trade Jameis. It didn't work out. They tried to trade Huntley. It didn't work out. Only one guy ended up getting traded, Malik Willis, because most people stayed healthy. So I think the Saints obviously are in a bad spot, but I don't think they're in any rush. They knew. And they drafted Tyler Shuck at 40th overall. They were out of the Shedeur business. They leaked that. They said they're taking Tyler Shuck. He's only 9 months younger than Kenny Pickett. So they're going to ride with
Are they playing the Manning sweepstakes already?
Say that again. That's insane.
Tyler Shuck is 9 months younger than Kenny Pickett.
That's wild. That's if we are sitting here, and this is going to be fascinating how they play it out, because everything in the backdrop of what we're talking about is, hey, this next quarterback class is good. We got 2 first-round picks. Are the Browns willing to sit, say, for instance, either Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders for an entire year and not take a look at them and move into next year and possibly still have a decision to make a quarterback?
I think they are, Garrett, and I think that they would consider that ideal, because that means that you're getting good play out of someone and that you're playing meaningful games.
They don't need to play them.
Right? You're evaluating all your other guys. You're evaluating that guy every day in practice, and you're going out on Sundays and playing meaningful games. The question is, if you're 4 wins going into December, do you play the rookie just to play the rookie?
Yeah.
Right? Or is it so bad before that you have to play the rookie? Or does ideally, one of the rookies play so well and perform so well that he deserves that chance. Right. And then whatever it is.
Now, rightfully so, we're talking about all these other guys. There's one guy we're not talking about that makes more money than all of them put together. Is Watson in the building? Is he working out? Is he integrated in the team? Are they going to build a wall and keep him away from this group? Like, what's going to happen with him?
He is.
Listen, that's it. Aren't both of those legitimate questions?
They are.
Build a wall.
Build the wall.
Yeah.
Who's paying for it, Jay?
Who's paying for the
wall?
You said you were going to build a wall 2 years ago, Jay, and you didn't deliver on it.
Pittsburgh's paying for this one.
We might make Houston pay for this. Like,
That's the least they could do.
I almost think that, it's what's ironic is 2 years ago, last year, Flacco wasn't back because Watson didn't want him back. Boy, it ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. Now Flacco's in the driver's seat, and he can, I think, voice to everybody else, I don't want this dude around me now.
So we're getting no peek at this for a while, right? And we only get to watch 3 OTAs altogether. But according to Kevin...
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that unusual?
No.
Okay.
No. According to Kevin, Watson's in the building. He's doing his rehab, and he's doing the quarterback
room,
stuff.
like he's doing... Like
interacting with everybody.
Like when they have a 9 a.m. quarterback meeting, he's in it.
Wow.
I would love a camera in there.
Man, that's a show.
Now, whether he's cleared or not, and we don't know that answer because right now it's only, month 4?
Yeah.
Month 5 of his rehab. Whether they would put him onto the roster or whether they would drag it out, I don't think so. I don't think there's any plan, and I think next year after the season and all the dust settles, we'll see how big those piles of dust are, that they will formally exit the Deshaun Watson.
That's the final year, and that's the time to do it.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to be left.
Because there's kicks down the road.
You kicked it down the road, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So they owe him right now about 170, and his number's about 36. So they'll still owe him about 135 million. Maybe some gets knocked off for insurance.
When it's all said and done, this will be the last question because I know we got to go. When it's all said and done, I remember I had said if this Deshaun Watson thing doesn't work out, you could set your franchise back 10 years. Mm-hmm. And people thought I was from Neptune. When will all of the punitive actions be done on Deshaun Watson's deal? Like all of these kicking down the roads and like what year will that be?
Well, right now it's 4 more seasons. How it's structured right now, but it will be restructured again. It has to be because next year his cap number's not going to be 80 million, unless they might make it more and get out from there. But it's not going to be that. So
is it a matter of just taking more of it on early and being done with it, or stretching the pain out over?
Yeah, right now it's set to be stretched out, but 80 is unprecedented, and even as the cap goes up, that's a quarter of the cap. Like you can't do that for a guy that's not playing.
No way.
But you can if you're in a rebuilding year and you say we're moving on. So,
yeah, right.
Does this competition make you sentimental for Osweiler, Kessler, Kaiser?
Man.
And that was 8 years? And then, so that was 17? Yeah, and they didn't win the game, but in 20 they went to the playoffs. So if you're looking at a multi-year timeline to have a competitive team, that's realistic.
Yeah.
If things don't go well this year, right? If a couple of these rookies aren't knockouts and a couple of these older offensive linemen get hurt, and the defense either doesn't perform or isn't given a fair chance to perform to its level, then this team will win 3 games again. I don't think that's a given, and I'm excited about this rookie class as a whole.
When do you start writing about the Browns, Saints, Manning sweepstakes? Who can suck more? Like, does that begin?
Every single day I write about Shedeur Sanders. I wake up writing about Shedeur Sanders. I go to bed. Went to bed at halftime last night. I'm well rested.
Well, thank you, Cavs. Thank you, Cavs.
Zach, you're the best. We appreciate
Love your
you
insight,
coming
brother.
in. You said it. Shedeur popped off the screen. Well, it popped into your eyes. However you want to phrase that properly.
Well, that's pause.
Yeah, that's not what I meant to say.
That's wild.
What's wrong
Zach,
with
thanks
you?
for coming in, man. We'll get to a break after that. Zach Jackson of The Athletic. We appreciate
that's how
Zach
we
for
roll
coming in.
here,
He'll be
Zach.
joining us again with some more camp updates throughout the summer. Guys, we're going to get to our next topic after a quick word from Monarch Money, and we're going to forget everything I just said in the last minute because Monarch Money can make you remember where all your money has gone. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spendings in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So outside of the ridiculous thing I just said, which it had good intentions, just did not come out right, obviously, how much do you guys think we should be putting into, and Zach alluded to the fact that it's a legit competition already. Like, these two are going to be battling out there, adding in extra competition periods. Gee, how much stock should we put into the quarterback battle and the rep schemes, who's going first, who's going second, throughout the early parts of camp? Because Kevin's told us it clearly does mean more than it has in the past.
Listen, I'm a former football player, and everything that I know from football is what they, when you go to the off-season program and you running stairs or you lifting weights or you in groups carrying each other on your back or racing or flipping tires, everything is competitive. And that strength and conditioning coach is over you. Talk about, this is why you do this, fellas. We're in a blazing heat. We do this because this is what it takes to get it done in the fourth quarter. For me, I want to see competition. I'm going to just keep it 100, bro. I had Shedeur winning. He up 1-0 right now. There was a competition between him and Gabriel. Like we said, they weren't doing nothing crazy. They went over the top. But I was a little disappointed in the assessment of some people of what they saw on the field. I saw what Zach saw when I was looking at it. We had opportunity to take a look at some of the throws. No, there was no pads. No, there was none of that. But one of the things I thought that Shedeur did was he had to overdo it. Shedeur has to overwin. Shedeur has to not only win these battles, he has to do it in a way where he's above reproach. I think he did it in 3 ways. I think he acclimated himself well with his teammates. You see taking pictures. You see people already throwing the rollie up in the picture, right? I thought he did a great job on the microphone. I thought they asked him some questions. I thought the jerseys thing was very self-deprecating. I think he answered a tough question when I believe Mary Kay asked him, "Hey, President Trump loves you, bro. What do you think about that?" He got a lot of questions that people could have tripped over. And then I thought on the football field, every throw not perfect, but I see a professional quarterback out there. I see a guy that can do some things, right? And Dillon Gabriel, by no stretch of the imagination, had a bad camp. I thought Dillon Gabriel was throwing the football well as well. My thing is, I thought Shedeur did exactly what he needed to do. He needed to not only answer questions well, he did that. I think he needed to be out here to show that he's not no up top diva and that he can acclimate himself to teammates. And I believe he threw the football well in some of the clips and some of the highlights we saw. So I think Shedeur had to do that in order to get to the next step. Now, when we get to the next step, when the veterans come in, you still got to overproduce. You got to beat Kenny Pickett. You got to keep doing the same things. And that's why I'm interested in watching it, because at the end of the day, we're looking for a quarterback. And I'm interested to see if they got one or not.
I thought Zach's answer was spot on, and it's part of the reason that I get so annoyed with some of this stuff that just feels like nonsense. It's because we're going to sit here and you're going to get these clips and people are going to evaluate a 5-yard out. But the part that we can't talk about is the part Zach alluded to, where Kevin calls him over, gives them play, he goes in the huddle. We don't know if he's getting them lined up right. We don't know
right.
But that's the type of stuff that I think the coaches are looking at right now. Are you following instructions? Do you understand the playbook? Do you get where we're trying to go with this? But we're not going to have any sort of insight. So instead, we're going to sit here and slobber over a 5-yard pass when there's nobody in coverage. So I will get more interested in this when it's the real players. When the big boys come in, when the veterans are here.
It will mean more.
Yeah.
That's fair.
When you've got 11-on-11 periods, okay, I'm in. But some of this other stuff, I can't. I'm not going to sit here and play Mike Love's driving me crazy with the zip, enough zip. No, I'm not going to do it on May 12th when it's just a bunch of rookies, and if there's 50 guys on the field, 35 of them aren't going to be on this team.
I'm in your camp 1,000%. However, I was surprised by Zach's candor.
I was too.
Because Zach is like you.
Zach is just like me. He's dead inside.
You are dead.
Yeah.
And you guys are not easily impressed. And by the way, That's why I think more people in the media should listen to folks like you guys instead of the guys that are tweeting out, this was a Super Bowl winning throw. No, it wasn't. It was a practice throw. You can't say that it had zip on it. I can get guys that are in street clothes that go out there and throw the ball with zip on it. That's not what I'm looking for. But what surprised me the most of what Zac had to say was how definitive he was in there is a big difference between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel.
That's why you let him say.
That is news I can use.
Yes, well, that's why I let him say it. See, I'm emotional. I drink the Kool-Aid, all that good stuff. G. Bush, you're so emotional.
Yeah, that's why I love you, G. Bush, but when you said Flacco could throw for 5,000, 6,000.
No, that was that. I know I said Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun. That's even worse.
That's even worse. But see, I'm honest too.
See, here's what but I know your brand. Your brand is, it might suck, but G. Bush is going to find out a way to tell you that it's not as bad as you think. But Zac is a guy who will tell you if it sucks. Last year, and this was stunning to me, because
the only one.
There's enough media members that you'd think that there would have been a split. But here's what I kept hearing from West Virginia. Wait until you see this offense. We're unveiling things the human eye has never seen before. Deshaun Watson is peak Clemson, early Houston, Deshaun Watson. This is, get your playoff tickets. And then we got the rollout. And to me, it was like, do you remember when Elon Musk had, I got this Tesla and it's got bulletproof glass. And he called the media together, and there were 100 reporters in there, and cameras and flash tubes. And he said, all right, we're going to take this baseball bat, and we're going to hit that window, and we're going to show you that it's bulletproof. Is everybody ready? And everybody's watching, and he swings, and the window smashes into 1,000,000 pieces. Hey. And I'm like, that's the worst rollout I've ever seen of any product. It's supposed to be bulletproof, and it couldn't. And that's what I felt like last year when I finally got to see what the Cleveland Browns really were. But all along, there was one guy telling us, this looks like trash.
I tried to
and
get
it was
him.
Zac.
I tried to bait him. He didn't take the bait. And the reason I asked him this question is because when I saw Shedeur throwing the football, I said, oh, this looked way better than the ball come off his hand, even different from Deshaun Watson. I said, that's why the definitive nature is what it was. When I seen it, I said, this is different. And like something.
But that's what it's supposed to look like.
I've been waiting for it.
Right, but we've got guys in here that it doesn't look like that.
And we had a couple of people that got here, and I'm like, oh, they starting? Oh, we're in trouble. So Cody Kessler never looked like that.
But that's a building block. To me, there are building blocks, and there are foundations. And the foundational things are obviously the mental capacity to grasp the offense and to execute it. Then the physical side of it, to be able to know your drop and to have your footwork right and to go through your progressions and your read. And then the last in that process is probably the most important, but delivery of the football. All of those things to me are building blocks. Then you get into the minutia of, like, we know he's got the skill set. We know he can throw the football. Here's what we also know about him. He holds the ball he holds onto the ball way too long. If he does in NFL preseason games what he did at Colorado in terms of the drop back and the holding the ball and standing still, he won't make it to the regular season.
That's why it's all about
that's what needs to be coached. Kevin Stefanski needs to get that mental clock sped up in his mind. It's not 1001, 1002, 1003 throw. It's got to be 1001, 1002, 1003 throw. Get him into that quick mindset where everything is faster. So then it will slow down in reality later.
What I like most about the weekend, more than anything, like for a lot of people, Shedeur Sanders, people asked to get him in the number 2 pick in general. People advocated the Browns taking him at 2, right? We know, even if you kind of qualm about what round he should have went in, we know he has talent. What I liked the most was the way he answered certain questions, because I think he did a great job of pushing back on the narrative.
I agree with that.
I think he gave you an insight, and he didn't come off as bitter. He didn't come off as a person that was uneducated and unthoughtful in what he was saying. I thought he came off as self-deprecating, likable, funny, intelligent. And the one thing that came across was, I love the fact that he said, listen, I'm here now. The only thing I'm caring about today is the Cleveland Browns, getting to know my teammates. And for Shedeur Sanders, for a person that was much maligned in the media. I mean, you look at the videos across the internet. Everybody talked about the narratives and the job interviews and this and that. He never came off one time in those questions as being a person that was angry or upset. And even the question when they asked him, why do you think you're so popular? And he turned it around and said, I don't know. Why do you think I'm so popular? He said, because you're a likable guy. He said, hey, I appreciate, I appreciate people that support me. I try to be a humble individual. I think he did a lot for people for the first time, the first impression of letting people know in general who he was. And I think, and I only use this as a dichotomy or opposite to show you what it was. Sometimes one of the critiques on Deshaun Watson was he's not forthright. There's sometimes communication we would have wondered whether or not you should have said certain things or how you communicated. In the case of Shedeur Sanders, I thought he came off a little bit better, a little bit open, a little bit more honest in a certain thing. Granted, two different circumstances. I just thought he did a nice job. You don't win quarterback jobs on the mic though. You got to you got to go out and you got to go put up wins. That's what it's about. But that's a start.
And you probably don't lose them either, but you can build goodwill with fans. And there's certain things that you can have. I don't know that he comes in here with a lack of fan equity. I think he has on both sides. He's a polarizing guy. Yeah. Some people thought it was a huge mistake to bring him in. Some people thought we waited too long to do it. But what he's doing now is trying with the microphone stuff and the interview stuff. He can make great strides in winning fan equity. And in this town, I think that matters.
He's already got it.
Because when the fan base turns on you, it's a wrap here. You don't survive that.
He's got the #1 jersey of all rookies. He's already got fan equity.
I mean Cleveland fan. I think nationally he became a symbol of what went wrong. And I think a lot of guys that maybe couldn't care less about the Cleveland Browns said, you know what, I'm going to support that kid with a jersey. I want to see...
I disagree. I think he just has a gigantic Shedeur fan.
No, he does because
we've
he's Deion Sanders' son.
5,000 subscribers that are all just straight up Colorado and Shedeur fans that are now...
And that's my point.
Cleveland Browns
no, you just made my point. My point is... When you mention Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel, there's no question which one has a higher profile. And Dillon Gabriel is a guy that played in two different high-profile programs and played in some really big games. Shedeur Sanders did not play in any big games. The media built them up to be big games, but in reality, they were not big games.
There was big games.
What big game did he play in?
I'm going to tell you this.
What big game did he play in that off-conference that he played in?
Watch this. When you talk about what he did, he came from an HBCU.
I'm talking about big games.
Oh, watch this. Unproven.
What bowl game did he play in?
Unproven. His coach is Prime. Prime said all summer, we coming. And we bring in our Louis luggage. And the first game that they play against is TCU, who was just in the national championship game.
Yeah, but what did they turn out to be?
We don't care. For Colorado, who won one game.
And what happened to TCU in the national championship game?
For Colorado, who won one game prior, and you got Coach Prime saying that my son and Travis Hunter is going to come here and beat the team that was just in the national championship game. And people watched everywhere.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
That's a huge game.
You're saying what I'm saying.
That's a huge game.
It was a huge game to the media on an impact of what happened last year in college football in terms of how things unfolded. What game did they play that had any impact at all on the college football playoffs?
They were one game away from going to the college football playoff. If they wouldn't have lost the last game, they were in the college football playoff.
Gee, do you really believe that?
That's the fact. They lost the last game against.
They would have a chance to play in the Big 12 championship, G, not necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
You lose. You have a chance to play in the Big 12 championship game, and this is a team that just went 1-10 a couple of years ago.
I'm not taking away from what he did. I'm not, and I'm also not taking away. In fact, you're kind of making my point. My point is, in terms of what was actually meaningful football, Dillon Gabriel played in high-profile, big games that had a major impact on college football, and who won the national championship.
He played 8 games against top 25 teams.
If you took both of their pictures and showed them to 1,000 fans nationwide, there is such a gap in recognizability between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. People don't know who Dillon Gabriel is outside of his uniform. They don't know. But we know Shedeur Sanders in part because of what he accomplished.
Yes.
For going from listen, that does not need to be poo-pooed. That's an incredible accomplishment.
That has never happened.
But here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying about that is, in terms of like high profile, based on accomplishments on the field, Dillon Gabriel played in huge games, meaningful games, college football playoff games. The Ohio State primetime game that he won early in the season. These are games that dwarf the ratings of any of those games.
Here's what I'm going to say. Dillon Gabriel started off at UCF, which is a mid-major school. He went to Oklahoma, right? That's a Power 5 school.
Big.
He then went to a bigger school. Now someone
with a higher profile.
With higher profile to Oregon. Here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders could have did the same thing.
Could have, right.
But I respect it more because he took the route of saying, I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go make Colorado.
Well, he went with Dad.
Guess what?
I mean, if Dad would have went to Oregon, he would have went to Oregon, too.
Well, here's the thing. He took what his father's mandate was like, we're going to pick this school out of nowhere and we're going to make it something. Not only did it make it something, it was box office. You had to watch it. It was must watch. You stayed up to watch Colorado.
Don't misunderstand this. If Oregon had offered Deion Sanders a job, Deion Sanders was going to Oregon, too.
I mean, that's not the point. The point is, Shedeur Sanders played high competition. He played against Oregon, played against USC. He played against UCLA. He played against some of these teams that are in the Big Ten. USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten.
I know, but what was the record against top 10 teams, like 1-11?
And it was him and Travis Hunter, no line, no defense.
I get that.
I like that.
The point I'm making is he had a huge profile coming in.
Yes, he did.
A massive profile coming in. And he still does. And I think in Cleveland, as it comes to like winning the fan base over, think back on when things got sideways for Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. When the fan base here snaps at you, it's a wrap.
Here's the difference.
And he won them over this weekend.
I give you
the
that.
ones that he didn't already have.
But I'll give you this. There's a difference between those two because unlike those other people, he brings his own fan base. This dude, shout out to the Colorado.
Well, Johnny had his own
shout
fan
out to
base.
the Colorado.
Baker did too.
Shout out to the Colorado.
And Baker did
Antis.
too, you're right.
Shout out to the Colorado Antis and all of the people out there. Listen, this dude got loyal cats that is like the first thing is, matter of fact, put it in the comment section, man.
Yeah,
hey,
but hold
shout
on.
out.
Didn't
put
the other
it in
guys
for
do?
12. Not like this.
Wait a minute. Baker didn't?
Oh, Baker
Johnny
did.
Manziel?
Baker absolutely did.
Hold on.
Baker had a huge following.
Baker still has a cult following.
He does. So,
They carried Browns games in Oklahoma.
But watch this. We're going to show you. Hey, listen, the Colorado people, here's what we're going to do. Hey, let's show them how much Shedeur got, right? Put the 12 in the comment section, and I want you to say, I'm here for Shedeur. I'm going to just let you see the power level. I ain't seen it like this.
But
no one's disputing that. But
you're making my point.
Manziel and Baker were the exact same
They came in with huge and Heisman trophies in tow.
I think Baker's is higher than Manziel's because Manziel has some personal issues. Baker still definitely he still has qualified.
Johnny football was a movement. Watch the 30 for 30 on Johnny. Because honestly, I'd forgotten how powerful it was.
I was there.
I lived it too. But you know what? When you rewatch it, you're like, this dude was one of one. This dude was nuts what he got away with.
But I think when you have personal issues and you get into some of the stuff he had, it's easier for people to kind of be like, okay, I'm off this.
Yeah, but he had those in college, and you know what? The media was helpful with this. Everyone's like, yep, but watch him run. Watch him run the football. Forget the fact that he's a terrible teammate. Forget the fact that he's outdoing things that were unthinkable at the time. The thing is, Cleveland has a propensity to bringing guys in.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
no.
We're running in circles here because there's not a tangible way to.
You can't really prove it.
No, but
35,000 versus
my point is, I think his profile. I think he did himself a huge favor with the way he handled the interviews this weekend.
Yes,
does it, in the grand scheme of things, will it mean much?
We both agree
Not
with that.
a lot,
We
but
all agree.
He won fan equity this weekend.
We both agree. Here and abroad, I believe that.
All right, let's get on to our next topic today. Our second Cavs topic of the day is brought to you by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with Buckeye State Credit Union, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand offering a wide range of products from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but there are 5 brick-and-mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. We started to touch on this at the end of our first Cavs discussion, but Donovan Mitchell suffered an injury that he had previously prior to Game 4, but at halftime, a weird incident happened. Steve, we have the video if you want to take this here full. Donovan going through his pregame shooting routine, and all of a sudden almost collapses over holding a lower body extremity. They called it a left ankle injury. You can see a couple different versions of the highlights here of Donovan from different angles, just going through what seems like a perfectly normal jump stop. And Jason, I'm not an ankle expert. Didn't look like a rolled ankle to me.
No, I never saw it roll. It looks worst case scenario. Now, the fact that he left the arena last night without a boot on, his normal shoe, walking under his own power, all good signs. And wait for the MRI today. He says he's playing tomorrow, and it's not a big deal. Wouldn't really go into great detail. Didn't really do a lot of media last night. Talked to Joe and Chris on his way out of the arena, and that was it. We'll see, but I've maintained it for a week. I think they're playing with fire on this one. And I give him credit for trying to gut through it, but I hope it's not anything calf related.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't mention his calf, right? I mean, nor
no,
did the Cavs.
they are saying ankle.
Yeah,
but obviously he's dealing with a lot of stuff.
He's exhausted. He's tired from carrying 4 teammates on his back for large stretches of this series in each game. I think it's a blessing in disguise. I didn't want him out there. Why would you? Why would you put anybody out there? You run the risk of you're not coming back from 41 down. You're not. It's not happening. I don't think it's ever happened in the history of basketball at any level. 41 points. What that tells you is this team isn't just a little bit better than you tonight. They're better at every single aspect of the game. They got another one of their own missed free throw rebounds last night. Again.
I mean, the Cavs are terrible on the offensive glass.
How many rebounds have they in this series? There's 4 of them, the very noteworthy that come to mind. They keep getting their own misses.
They get every 50-50 ball, it feels like.
Every 50-50 ball is won. And so for me,
that's it.
When he doesn't come out and play in the second half, I'm like, good. Let this dude rest up. We've got the most important game that they will ever play was last night. And now it's going to be Game 5. And then it's going to be Game 6. And then it's going to be Game 7 if they can get it that far. They need Donovan Mitchell at 100%. And if that means he takes the half off and gets a little bit better, hopefully the ankle isn't serious. I'm glad he says it's not. Hope the MRI doesn't show anything negative because that's a wrap. If Donovan Mitchell isn't on the floor in Game 5, it's over.
It looked like what he was doing was this. Hey, fellas, I got you. You get me. I had your back. I made sure I delivered what I delivered. I made sure that in Game 2, when y'all didn't play, I made sure I gave everything I had to a point where I put it all on the line that I made sure we stayed in that basketball game. Game 3, when we needed it, and everybody was coming back in ginger a little bit, I made sure I put the team on my back and we got the first world win. What he was expecting was this, the maturity level of one of the other guys to step up, whether it's Evan Mobley or whether it's Jared Allen or Darius Garland, to come to him and say, hey, dog, we understand that you've been putting it on the line. We understand you hurt too. We understand that every single time that you get knocked on the floor, you don't even let nobody else help you up because you're trying to show pride. You trying to show some toughness, like showing I don't need nobody to help me up. This is what we got to do to win these games. And he expects other people to say, listen, you did that. We got you Game 4. Don't even worry about it. Darius, let me go to Evan Mobley. Hey, we got to be aggressive. We got to be on it. Jared Allen said, guys, don't even worry about the rebounds. I got all of them. Hey, Evan, if you're going to have to get 25, let me clean up. I got all the dirty work. I got all the hustle points. We got it, Donovan. We need you to just get us in the fourth quarter, maybe hit a couple of big shots, and we there. Sam, you better be ready to go to shoot. Max, keep giving us what you got. Why is nobody, other people on the team being leaders? I see them sitting on the bench looking around like this, like they saw a deer in headlights. When you look at the Pacers, Miles Turner is amped up. Matherin is playing all kind of mind games. He punching people. Like, yeah, I'm about to punch this dude in the stomach right now. Neesmith is running around here like he's an R&B thug. These dudes everybody is in it. But watch these highlights. Who is showing emotion besides Donovan Mitchell? Let me see somebody.
These are all Donovan highlights, so you won't see anyone else.
But in general, there's not a lot of guys out there that are leading the troops. Every once in a while, DG does.
No, I didn't want you to wait for this video to show someone else.
I know.
This was just Donovan.
But in general, in the series, you're right. Like, who's been the guy that's rallying the troops?
Max Strus.
Strus is playing with great energy and passion.
And energy is free.
Yeah.
It's free, Jason.
It is free.
It's free to get the 50-50 balls, right? You watch these games and
effort.
You watch these games and it comes down to, it looks like whoever comes out and punches somebody first. I want Celtics-Knicks. Celtics came out, punched them right in the face and told them it didn't matter, it's a square. It ain't gonna be one of them games today. Yeah. It ain't that type of show today.
We did that in game 3.
We did it in 3. But it's consistency. You got to give it all the time. And it looked like Donovan didn't have it. So you need somebody else to say, I got it. Don't worry. I'll hold the line. That's it. And we haven't seen it.
I thought they broke their spirit middle of the second quarter. I don't like using the word quit because I don't usually say that. So I'm not going to say that here, but I thought their spirit was broke early in the second quarter. And it really showed up to me on the defensive when you can't close out possessions. So I put in the group chat. Like, I totally expected they're going to come back. They're going to come back. They're going to come back. And then I'm watching, and the Pacers' second chance opportunities, Pacers on the glass. Pacers, it's 3-on-1, and the one Pacers getting the rebound or tapping it out to somebody else, and they're chasing down the 50-50 ball. And I'm like, you know what? Never mind. No, they're not. Because when you can't finish possessions, when you're not grabbing rebounds, they're getting beat in transition. They got a miss on the offensive end. They're getting beat in transition on the way back. Then, no, you are going to get blown out of this because you at the very least, when you do get a miss, you have to be able to end the possession, and they couldn't even do that last night.
And I want to add on to that, Jason, real quick. Not just possession by possession. All series, the end of quarters have been horrific for the Cavaliers.
Runs, they hit threes at the
and I'm
buzzer.
I'm going to make this point that I'm going to look up the stats, and I'll come back in a second to get you the exact numbers. I'm going to look at the final minute of each quarter. I go back to the Miles Turner 3. In game 2, the pump fake gets Jared Allen.
8-0.
You look at the end of – that was game 1. In game 2 –
No, game 2, they outscored them 8-0 in the last 50 seconds.
Well, yeah, I'm not there yet, though. That's down the road.
That's before
halftime. They were up, I think it was 17. They gave up a 3 to make it 14, and it was a play that didn't have to happen. The Cavs tried to go 2 for 1, went way too early.
Yep.
And these end of quarters, it's even a bigger picture than the end of possessions because it's – I don't want to say more monumental swings, but at the end of quarters, they've been terrible.
What are they shooting for three? What's their three-point percentage, the Cavs and the Pacers in this series? Because, it's a shooter's league, and we make all these other points about all this stuff. I'm curious. The Pacers are shooting the ball at an absolutely ridiculous clip. And common sense says that can't continue. It can't continue.
Well, to Mike's
but when
point,
it carries over game to game, you're like, well, maybe it can continue.
To Mike's point, the end of the first quarter, like they were taking a punch, but they were in it. End of the first quarter. It was, I think, 12. It was 12 in the first quarter, and the next time they guard Ben Shepherd will be the first time they guard Ben Shepherd. They've left him open the entire series, and then Shepherd hits a big 3 on them at the end of the first quarter, and now it's 15. Yeah. And it doesn't sound like much, but that's big. And then it just snowballed them on him again in the second quarter.
I'm gonna ask you, because for me, I was waiting for it to click with Evan Mobley. Like, I understand that he can knock down that shot. But, man, there are times when I just want him to get the ball on the block and go to work because I don't think they can guard him. Like, when you see Evan Mobley, his game and his footwork is much better. Where, hey, listen, if the three-point shots ain't falling, why can't we get and move the ball and let's work inside and try to get some. Miles Turner, this ain't 5 years ago. These guys aren't going to be intimidating down low. I just think sometimes we tend to float.
Well, remember, they scored game 1. Well, I think it was game 1. They scored 70 points in the paint and lost. Yeah, unbelievable. So they have attacked the middle, and they do have a size advantage in this series. And I think they have it. I'm not throw yesterday out. I'm yeah. But at times, I think that they have exploited that to their benefit in the series. But it just, obviously it has been enough. That Jared Allen line is stunning.
That's why I asked to see it again early in the show. I would bet everything I own that he couldn't put a line like that, unless he gets hurt in the first 3 minutes.
Right.
That was a 20-minute line.
Yeah.
0 for 1 from the flip. How's this guy take one shot?
2 rebounds, one shot.
1 shot in 20 minutes? Was he out? Was he mad and he was out to make a point?
No.
Was he making a statement? Like, what? Were you even there? Was that somebody that put on a wig and a sweatband and went and had an imposter? 42% for the Pacers, 30% for the Cavs. Three-point percentage.
When things go bad for him, they just tend to snowball. Like, if other guys are scoring, you see his shoulders sulk. Then he stops catching the ball on pick and rolls. Like, the little pocket pass, he starts fumbling those. He starts, when he's confident, the teardrop starts going in. He's like, okay, that's cool. But, when it goes bad, it goes bad. And I think you got to think about it like this.
One shot.
One shot, and to me, the Ty Jerome thing is baffling. Like, it is baffling to me.
He's stealing a lot of guys' shots.
That he has been that bad.
Yeah, I know.
He has been potently bad.
But that goes to show you the speed of the game and how much it changes when the playoffs hit.
It ramps up.
And with every round, it ramps up, and he is getting just absolutely power washed by it.
It just looks like three. And then Dean Wade, Dean,
I know.
Him and I. Look, can we at least say this? Can we at least look at? I'd rather let me develop Jalen Tyson. Like, let me see Craig Porter Jr. or something. Like, because at some point in time. I won't even say Monty Bates because people will go crazy. But at some point in time, the thing with Isaac Okoro and Dean Wade, we have to understand it is what it is, right?
That's right.
Like, it's been the same thing. Like, when Dean Wade
we keep waiting for it to change.
When he gets the basketball, I'm holding my breath, and I know it's not going in. And Isaac Okoro, I know and especially Isaac Okoro with the baby throw, I know it's definitely not going in. And he had 13 points. Like I said, anything after halftime don't count.
A lot of those numbers don't mean much.
We can have this conversation later. They have some decisions to make. If the season ends soon, they've got some hard decisions to make because we talk second apron and everything else. We don't have the numbers yet. I don't know how far into the second apron they're going to be until the league sets the cap and until Evan's contract is set with DPOY and all that stuff. But you might have to make it. Maybe moving Dean gets you out of the second apron, moving him into a team with space. Isaac, I don't know you're going to find a taker for his $11 million deal.
No, you probably won't.
But those are the two that I would look at. Like, because I keep saying they're a second apron team because they are.
Yeah.
If there's a way to get out of the second apron, they may have to explore moving Dean. But, I feel weird saying that because all year long I championed them.
They were great in the regular season.
But this is 3 years now of Dean in the postseason. And I said it after the first game this year against Miami. I'm like, I just don't think he's got the stomach for playoff basketball. And some guys are like that. It's just it's a different game. Playoff basketball is totally different than the regular season.
And those two guys are the poster children for that.
And
Jerome
and Ty's showing you that too.
Jerome is wow, it's stunning. His drop off because the big question all year was what we asked about David Fry last year. How long can this dude keep doing this?
Yeah.
When does it strike midnight?
Yep.
And he kept pushing midnight back, and midnight came when the playoffs began.
No, he was fine in Miami.
But
he's good against Miami.
That's a 10 seed.
In game
one,
once
you get against a team that is conference finals last year, and they're well coached.
Yeah, game one against Indy, I think he had 20 and 8, and I remember looking at the stat line going, I can't believe he had 20 and 8. Well, I didn't think he played that well.
He took
20
shots.
He took 20 shots.
I mean, that's how he did it.
And then he's been off the cliff ever since.
Let me ask you this question because you'll know more than I guess the rest of us. If they do, and granted, I keep saying if. This 3-1, we didn't see 3-1. I'm not going to jump off the cliff until they get put out. So anyway, if they do lose 4-1 in this series, and game, what is it, 5 or game 6 looks more, or game 5 looks more like game 4.
Yeah.
How will the Cavs front office psychologically couch this?
I don't know. And it goes back to what I was just saying. Like, I think you have to wait and see what the numbers look like. If you're a second apron team, you can't make any moves. Like, because I saw something yesterday about swing big and go get Giannis or something, like trade Jarrett and Darius and bring Giannis in here. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, that's not realistic. You can't, as a second apron team, that is an illegal trade. You cannot make that trade.
That's how they stopped all the bigness. The big threes, they said, no.
Yeah,
you can't make this illegal deals anymore.
The league is actively working to disband any sort of big three. They don't want that anymore. And the Cavs theoretically have four big, whatever you want to call it. And the league is actively trying to stamp that stuff out. So you could sit here and say, well, they're going to have to trade somebody. It's a lot harder to do that than what it sounds. I mean, which one are you going to trade? Jarrett's making $20 million. Darius is making 38, 39-ish, somewhere in there. You can't aggregate salaries. You can't take back more. So you got to trade them one for another player making right around that same money. That's not a very big market of guys. And frankly, I don't know. Like last year we said Darius's trade value was suppressed last year because he was coming off a terrible year and he had a monster contract. And this year, he had a great year during the regular season, but I'm telling you, the way that this toe injury has been handled has been discussed around the league, and I don't know what his market then would look like coming off that this summer.
Because I want to say this about the toe thing. When you watch Darius Garland, right, and I think he's gutting it out, and I think that when you watch this toe injury, the toe injury could be more serious than what people think. If you think about Darius Garland, his game is predicated on him being able to blow by people.
Yes.
Stop, start.
Quick.
And quick.
Yes.
And the thing that's concerning is when he keeps running and falling under his own weight and it's not even anybody touching him, that shows me something is wrong with his ability to in that toe.
Well, you lose feeling.
Yeah, I don't think you can
and that's
feel
how
it.
you fall.
Yeah.
That's how you fall down.
They probably shot it up and it's numb and you can't feel it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think he's enthused about playing. I don't think he wants to be there, and he thinks the team is slightly forcing him in this point to do it.
Well,
I just watch his demeanor.
And I didn't really make a big deal about it until it was like, hey, sit Miami. Yeah, for sure, sit those games. Indy, sit till you lose. It's just they wound up losing a lot sooner than I think anyone anticipated them losing game one. But then when it gets to two, I mean, Stephen A. went out there, and Stephen A's a lot bigger than I am. Stephen A. went out there and said, limp your ass out there. It's time to go.
And he was not wrong.
And after 2 weeks, I heard, I can't remember, somebody was saying, well, he's going to have to play with a carbon fiber insert. Okay. He's not the first guy that's had to play with a carbon fiber insert. This, with the crown comes a lot of expectations. Ooh. Heavy is the crown. And when you want the contract and you want the accolades and you want to be a franchise pillar and you want to be a leader, this is the crappy part that comes with that. I have no question he is in an incredible amount of pain. There's no doubt in my mind. This sucks. And it sucks that it happened at this time of year. It sucks he's got to go through this. Donovan's dragging one leg up and down the floor. Evan couldn't even bear weight on. It sucks that all of this has fallen on them at the worst possible time. And, if you're the Cavs, you look at this and say, we did everything we could to protect these guys, to limit the minutes, to try and we picked games before the season even started and said, we're going to sit these guys at these points to try and load management this thing. And it didn't matter because it still all went up in smoke at the worst possible time. And the flip side of that is that's the NBA, that's life. You have to play through this stuff sometimes. And it's not fair. It ain't fair. But life ain't fair.
But it happens to Cleveland a lot.
It does.
Real quick around the horn before we talk Guardians. If Donovan can't go in Game 5, do they have any chance of winning?
It's over. It's 100% over.
Do they have any chance of winning? Yeah. Are they going to? No, I won't pick them.
I say they have no chance of winning without Donovan.
No, I don't think it's zero.
It would be.
But I wouldn't pick them.
They were down by 41 at halftime with him on the floor yesterday.
Evan, you would have to see Evan Mobley become something that we haven't seen, and that is, he's Kevin Durant today.
Well, we talked
a badass Kevin Durant.
That plays defense.
It's funny you say that because last week I don't think either one of you guys were here. Bull and I were talking about that, and I think Tyvis was in, and I said, Evan has to be the guy who.
It was me, you, and Bull on Wednesday.
Okay, well, is that what we're talking about? Where I said
Yeah.
And Bull said, what does it look like for Evan? I said, it looks like 42 minutes, 33 points, and 18 rebounds. That's what he has to do, where he has to. And this is where, because Donovan is undersized, he is.
Yeah.
That dude squeezes every ounce of everything he's got
He's a
out
bad
of him.
dude.
That dunk through the lane that he had, that was insane.
But when you are an undersized guard, it is, look at, he played 36 minutes and he's totally exhausted and gassed. 36, 37 minutes, whatever it was. That's a high number of minutes, but it's not. We've seen guys play an entire game before.
Caleb Bridges played 51.
And that's not a criticism of Don. I'm not saying it as a criticism. I'm saying it as the guy is only capable of so much physically, and that's why size matters in this league, and that's why it's so hard to win when undersized guards are your best players. We've been saying that for years. Yeah. So it's on a dude like Evan to play 42, 43 minutes, to score 32, 33, 34 points, make 4 threes, 5 threes, grab 18 rebounds, be an absolute monster on the defensive end, and take this entire franchise to a win.
He's not ready
that's what it would take.
He's not ready for
this is crazy, and you have it after this. That is how I think they couch it. I think if they lose 4 games to 1 or whatever this sweep, they go to Evan Mobley and say, you took a step this year, you defensive player of the year, but for us to be great, you have to be the best player. You have to be a guy that can get to a point where you can get 40 just like he can and still play that level of defense. And I think if Evan Mobley is Durant with defense, then we don't care what Donovan.
Then all bets are off.
Then we can do what you want.
At the start of the playoffs, and I was wrong. At the start of the playoffs, I said I think when we look back on this run, no matter when it ends, this will be Evans coming out to where he became the best player or the most important player, and that hasn't happened. This is still very much a team that Donovan is dragging as far as he can, and I give him all the credit in the world for what he's tried to do, for what he's been able to do. Again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm knocking him. He's only capable of doing so much. He's not a top 3 all-time player in this league. He's not a top 3 player in this game today.
No,
frankly.
But there are moments where he looks like
one.
But
for what he's capable of doing.
For a game or 30 minutes or 10 minutes.
What he is able to accomplish, what he's been able to do in this series on one leg, I have nothing but respect and admiration for what he has given to this franchise.
I think he's won a lot of respect, and I think there are guys in the organization that have lost some respect in this playoff run.
Well, when you couple it with the last couple as well, the last couple of years is 3 in a row.
And again, a tiger can't change its stripe. And, what we said to Bull is really the poster child for this. I don't care about the regular season anymore. I don't care. And we all got caught up in it because it was exciting.
Well, it's going to be – next year will be a tough sell for them.
Oh, you aren't kidding.
Because,
I'm afraid we turn into the Atlanta Braves from the 90s.
This year, you had the evolution of Evan, and they were so good and ripping off such long winning streaks.
We all got excited.
Even the most jaded, hardened Bulls of the world were like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yep.
And then if it flames out again like this.
At the same level.
And that's why, going back to your question, what do they do from a front office perspective? What do you do with this roster? It's a really, really tough spot to be in because if you're staying the second apron, it really hamstrings what you can and can't do. Okay, do we move out of the second apron? Well, now you've got to move on from guys who you thought were going to be not like core 4 pieces,
right? But pieces,
important pieces to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
And now you're having some really hard conversations that I don't think you were anticipating having 3 months ago.
The good news is the teams across the league are having those same conversations. It's just difficult for them. And we've already heard the Celtics have already, they're
breaking up.
Celtics are breaking up the band. So there could be a massive opening in the East next year. Well, they've talked about how they got it. Players are going. Sold the team. New owner came out and said it's going to be different next year.
Yeah, and we've talked about it all year where their payroll is again with some of these restrictions and everything, and the penalties and everything else. It's exorbitant. Like it's untenable.
Their luxury tax bill, if they brought everyone back, just the luxury, not what they're paying, $600 million just.
Can't do it.
All right, then, fellas, we gotta go.
So
Guardians lose 2 or 3.
But real quick, that's why I said earlier, if you're the Cavs, you just have to wait out Boston. You just have to wait them out.
Yeah.
But when you don't even get to that round, when it's a 4 seed that's doing this to you, that's why tomorrow's going to tell us a lot. I'm really curious to see how they come back.
And they can still write a good ending to this thing.
It's still
in their
front of them.
hands.
It doesn't
they
feel
have
like
the skill to do it.
It doesn't feel like it.
Do they have the stomach for it?
But it's still right in front of them.
Hey, they win tomorrow night. We're coming in Wednesday, and I guarantee you, Bull. G,
I will not be nearly as no. To me, I'll be
Jay, you
excited
take
if we
the
win Game
biggest flops
6
of everybody, or the biggest
Yes.
flops, the biggest swings of.
I do. But you know
if
what?
they're up 7 at the end of the first, Jay's like, they're back, championship.
No.
bound.
No. I proclaimed. I was the first one on the chat to proclaim yesterday. They ain't coming back.
That's what I'm saying. You're the first to always go both sides.
Right. But now, all that being said, if they win Game 6,
Without Donovan.
I'm coming in here with the championship crown on my head.
If
But
they-
not after Game 5.
If they win Game
no
5,
way.
if they win Game 5 handedly without Donovan
No.
Mitchell, and then Donovan is able to play in Game 6, I think people would
Gee,
be
it
optimistic.
No. If you win Game 6, then you get excited for Game 7.
That's the.
We got to go back to where we were down 41 at halftime.
That's the worst game. The Game 6 on the road. You need the 40.
Win that, I'm starting the parade.
You need the 40.
I'm calling the
Here's Kyrie
vendors.
and
I'm
LeBron.
getting all the food trucks lined up. I'm ready.
Last thing I'll
thing,
say,
Jason.
and then let's go to Guardians. If they win 5, all of the pressure is on the Pacers.
Yes.
Oh, I agree with that.
All of the pressure is
I
on
agree
the
with that.
Pacers to
But
do
my
it in
level of
6 at home.
enthusiasm and excitement and expectation does not ratchet back up to where it was after Game 2.
Even though they're the 4 seed,
3.
all of the pressure is on Indy now. They were up 3-1.
Yes, I agree with that.
If they have to go back home to 6, they have got to get it done.
But you know what?
We got
just
Guardians.
Watching them, I think they're up to the moment. I do. I think their coach is the right coach. I think their
great.
players have the right mentality. Like, they got punched in the mouth. In Game 3. And they came back in Game 4 and
They were home.
absolutely rinsed the number 1 seed.
Rick Carlisle's a damn good coach. All right, guys, but if you don't follow us on social media already, make sure you guys follow us online, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. They're the handles. Give us a follow for more Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show content when we're not on air from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guys, let's talk a little Guardians quickly to wrap up today's show. They lose 2 of 3 to Philly. Last night, they had 2 hits in the first inning. 1 hit the rest of the game. They scored 1 run on Saturday. Cantillo, terrible late in the game as they lose 7-1. Jason, when you look at the Guardians over the weekend, do you have one big takeaway that kind of stands above the rest, or is this just a disappointing offensive showing against a pretty good Philly staff?
Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to it. I thought Ortiz was great yesterday. I was trying to flip it back and forth.
I was too.
And watch as much of it as I could. I was more focused on the Cavs, obviously. I thought that was one of Ortiz's best outings of
Just
the year.
a shame he was pitching against Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Bybee was fine in his outing. The bullpen, it really got away from him. Cantillo sort of blew up, which we really haven't seen out of him yet this year. So it was a tough weekend. But, the pitching, which hasn't been as consistent as you would like it to be, I thought was fine. I can't remember. What was Game 1 of the Philly series? I don't remember now.
They won.
Yeah, that was the win. It was big, too, like 7-0, wasn't it?
The Game 1 result?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember nothing of Game 1 now.
At all, well, because so much has
They
happened.
won
So much has
6-0.
happened.
6-0. They
6-0.
lost 7-1. and then
I was really encouraged by Ortiz yesterday, though.
I did too.
That's,
Yeah,
if
I
I
was
had
too.
one big takeaway from it, that was it.
Another takeaway from the game yesterday is when we see, and this isn't unlike most teams, when we see that elite pitching, our lineup looks as bad as it really is.
Yeah.
We feast on mid pitching and poor pitching, but when we see the aces, we look.
That's not that uncommon, though.
No, that's what I said.
That's
you
why
see
they're-
that in
that's why
baseball.
they're
That's why
aces.
they're aces.
Yeah.
But to me, I thought, were there opportunities? Yeah. Did he make some pitches that were mistake pitches? Yeah, we didn't take advantage of them. Our lineup's not a great lineup. It's not. It is what it is. But I think another thing, and this has nothing to do with what happened on the field, we're getting some guys back real soon that are going to make a difference for this ball club. David Fry, I believe, starts playing in Arizona, I think this week. And didn't Walters, I think he's either pitched a game in Arizona or he's scheduled to pitch this week. So he's coming back.
It's all about Bieber.
Bieber is ahead of schedule by all indications, and he could be on track for a July return. So if you get Fry and Bieber and who's the other one? DeLauder. I believe he has already started playing.
Yeah, but DeLauder is.
I mean, the way Tom Hamilton was talking about it, like, very soon.
Very soon.
Will be available soon.
Columbus or Cleveland?
Columbus. No, of course it's going to be.
Because he's got a month in Columbus. I think.
Well, I don't know what that looks like.
Minimum.
I mean, if he hits Columbus and he tears we need him here.
Yeah.
We need him here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not saying that he'll be here in a month, but I just think that it's a good thing that they're staying within striking distance. And now Minnesota's won 8 in a row. All of a sudden, it's a 4-horse race again, which is exactly what we said it was going to be all year long. Minnesota did what they did last year. They started off horribly. And
Kansas City is hanging right where you are. Look,
that record, though, is off for Minnesota. They're not 21-10.
21-20.
21-20.
I had 6 million graphics and videos to cut this.
It's understandable. It's understandable. I just didn't want anybody to look at that and think that
21-20. That's my bad.
but they've won 8 in a row. They were, people were writing them off just 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they can't lose. The Tigers are legitimate. They're exactly who I thought they were going to be this year. The Guardians are an offensively challenged team that when they see high-level pitching, get 3 hits and get shut out.
They get mowed down. It'll be a quick work. It don't
7-pitch innings, 9-pitch innings. I'm like, what's going on here? Zach Wheeler, Zach Wheeler is like the guy that won't die. I mean, he is unbelievable in his resiliency.
I went to the game last night.
Mets gave up on him how long ago?
Yeah.
Forever. I went to the first 3 innings of the game.
Oh, you were there yesterday?
Yeah, I got the KYC ticket.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It was cool experience.
You left that for the Cavs game?
I didn't know they were going to get. If I knew they were going to get,
well, you could have watched the Cavs game at the.
I wanted to get back. We do the post game show. I wanted to lock in, take notes, and all that. But Zach Wheeler pitches so fast, not like velocity.
I know.
He wastes no time
Rhythm
between.
pitcher.
It was the innings were like 4 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
I ended up staying 4 innings and left at 7:55, and the game started at 7:10.
It was crazy
because Ortiz was dealing. He gave the 1 home run to Schwarber and then nothing else later.
Kyle Schwarber.
By the way, Kyle Schwarber's 32, and he's playing like he's 22.
He's awesome.
And he kills
His numbers are raising eyebrows.
Yeah.
I keep saying, I'm like, bro.
He does it every year, though.
I'm like, bro.
Look at his numbers right now.
He destroys.
Tell me what his numbers are.
He's tied for the league lead in home runs with 14.
14 home runs. We're in the first week of May. Just now out of it. We're doing May 12th. He's got 14 home runs.
Judge has 14,
Judge has 14, yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah,
he had 38 last year, 47 the year before, 46 the year before. So you want to say but then in 19 he had 38 and 28 and 30. The dude always hits bombs.
We ain't seen nothing like that in years. Like, I'm just saying, it'd be great if somebody would say
what's
38,
crazy is usually when you have that guy,
36.
he doesn't change teams like he changes underwear.
Right. Like,
But usually he's awful defensively, which hurts.
Well, he's a liability. You got to DH him. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But he smoked the ball yesterday, and it was the only thing
That was it. That was all they had. And by the way, I think Kyle Schwarber against the Indians Guardians is hitting like 800 with a home run every other at bat.
Yeah.
He just the
dominates.
guy is a thorn in our side. I don't care who he plays for.
I mean, the
You
World
can trade him to
Series.
Colorado.
The World Series will forever.
And he just keeps doing that.
Yeah.
They love him here, don't they?
Oh yeah.
He has fans here. People standing up. This is wild.
What did he sign? What did he get with the Phillies?
Hold on, I'm looking up his career numbers against Cleveland.
Because I naively thought
Against Cleveland,
this is a guy Cleveland could go out and get.
No.
Jay, you ready for this?
Well, of course, I said naively. Yeah.
Against Cleveland, he has a 1.008 career OPS in 27 games.
Insane.
He has 10 homers, 22 RBIs.
10 homers in 20 games?
27 games. It is the
He wants to be traded to the
highest
Central.
OPS against any team he's played in his career.
He's Lou Gehrig.
This dude is just insane.
You asked his contract?
His swing
Is that what you asked?
beautiful. Yeah. What did he end up getting with the Phils? Years and number.
4-year, $80 million.
Bro,
That's not crazy.
But again, it's because he can't play a position.
so you pen him in at DH and you never think about it again.
Yes, but DHs don't make $40 and $50 million.
DHs that hit like that should. I don't care if you only play half the time.
Man,
I'm just saying.
and we got.
Yeah, I'd love to
Carlos.
see that in Cleveland.
Shout
I'd
out
love
to
see him in
Carlos.
I mean,
Santana.
$20 million a year is not like
Minimowski.
bank-breaking money.
No. Minimowski.
That's just above minimum wage in baseball.
Minimowski.
Which is why I said I think the Guardians should go in on this guy.
That ain't happening.
All right, guys, we got Super Chats to wrap up
almost
here.
our whole
Just a quick
payroll.
reminder. On Wednesday night, the NFL releases its schedule. We will be live at 8 o'clock.
Are you serious?
Me, G, and Earl for a live
Contractually
schedule
obligated.
release show. as that news happens.
y'all have
We
fun.
do the Ultimate Browns live reaction stream to the Browns schedule release. That'll be at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. Make sure you guys.
Hey, you should have seen Jason. You should have seen the two Jasons. They was like, "The hell is this?" I was like, "That's
Doing
what
a
the schedule."
live show on the schedule.
They was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna. I got previous engagements for that one."
But you know what? Here's the deal. People will watch.
Oh no, we're
Scoring
gonna do
big
this.
numbers.
Yeah,
We're
they
gonna do
will.
numbers.
It's the NFL and the
It's
magic
unbelievable.
marketing machine.
Oh,
We should do an MLB schedule release in September when next year. Can we do
Should
a
we
live
do
stream
an NBA
Guardians?
draft lottery live show
We
tonight?
could address our viewers by name. Tim, I know you're watching in Bedford. Listen, that third week in June, that's a grinder. That's a grinder.
Can you imagine?
We got super chats. First super chat comes
That's
from
America's
Evan419.
pastime, as in
Evan
past
says
time.
the first person to stand up for himself was a guy who got here 2 months ago. But sure, praise Donovan for bumping Duncan Robinson and flexing. He's referring to the DeAndre Hunter push on Benedict.
I was glad
Cumberbatch
Hunter did
yesterday.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I said that earlier.
Our Mac Dog says the Cavs are small, they don't play physical, and their roster isn't built for the playoffs. The NBA knows that they can bully the Cavs. Hunter and Mobley are hurt. Jared needs help. Jonas Valanciunas could have helped.
I like Valanciunas. He's a rough
I hate
rider.
him.
Caleb Ramirez said, can the Cavs even make moves this offseason? To Jason's point earlier,
Probably not.
it is a lot more difficult than it may appear.
If they're a second apron team, they won't have their mid-level.
Hey man,
They can bring Ty back. We'll see what the number is now after this series.
Do you want Ty back?
I mean, I don't know what if you are committed to being a second apron team, you have to have him back.
Well, yeah.
You
but
have to bring him back because you have no
There's nothing
You also
else
can't
can
use
do.
that money elsewhere, can
right.
you?
No.
apparently,
Use it or lose it.
Apparently, tariffs work on the Cleveland Cavaliers as well.
Speaking
Our
of tariffs,
Mac
it's
Dog,
okay to look at your 401ks again.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
They're
Go
going
take the
bananas today.
Yeah.
in a good way?
Yeah.
In a great
Yeah.
way.
Good. Our Mac Dog says Okoro, Wade, Thompson should be gone. Not sure if both Jerome and Merrill can come back. The Cavs need a big backup point guard and a big physical backup center.
Hey man, the way the checking and savings accounts is working in the NBA, apparently that's not. You can't just go pick it off. Yeah, let me get him for the mid-level exception. Let me grab this
No,
dude.
they're looking at league minimum guys.
Yeah.
This summer. So
And those aren't guys that move the knee. They're not going to make a difference.
more than likely not. So like, again, this is assuming that they stay in the second apron.
Right.
We need to see what the numbers are. How far into the second apron are they? Can they get
Could
out
you
of
get
it?
an enforcer with? I mean, that you'd think that you'd
Yes.
be able to get some toughness for that.
Marcus Morris, for example.
yes,
Sign a
like
league
bring
veteran.
somebody in here that's ready to, that's ready to fight. Because right now, I think when the fight breaks out, they all look at each other and see who can get to the exit door fastest. And that's not, you don't win many fights that way.
Morning Coffee says 3 quarterbacks will not be on the active roster. Shedeur was a 5th-round pick. Does he go to the practice squad, or would
No.
the Browns try to listen to offers?
You can carry 3 on the 53. Teams do it all the time. You have to carry. If you want to carry an emergency quarterback, he has to be on the 53. So you absolutely can carry 3 on the. No, none of these guys are making it to the practice squad. If
Ever.
Well, one of the 4 has to, or you trade him.
You're going to have to
trade him.
If you cut Dillon Gabriel, he's not going to make it through waivers. Somebody's going to claim him.
Right.
So practice squad is not an option. Plus, if they do make it to P squad by some weird thing, any team can sign them like
They're
that.
gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
So that I don't think that is a realistic option.
How about that? Other teams poaching Browns quarterbacks.
Yeah, right.
Who would have
Who'd
thought
ever
we'd be saying that?
Yeah.
No, I would
Crazy statement.
I have a
can
question
get-
back to the
I
series.
got 3 more. Hold on. Let me get this last 3.
okay.
Save your question. Charles T says last season strength of schedule: Cam Ward 17, Shedeur Sanders 18, Dillon Gabriel 2. That's according to PFF. Gabriel's
not
team was better.
following.
All 1-0.
What they're saying that was their
Team strength of schedule.
in college last year.
College, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Sean
Dillon Gabriel
Iyer-
too. I can believe that.
Sean Iyer says, Jason, are the Cavs watching the draft lottery tonight more closely than we once thought?
No, they don't have a
No,
pick.
because they're not in the lottery.
This is the first
impacts
year.
them nothing.
They are just now starting to write the check on the Donovan Mitchell trade.
Right.
With this year, this is the first
Yeah.
pick that goes to Utah. So they lose control of their next 5 drafts.
And then, hold on, what do you mean? So they don't have draft picks for 5 years?
No, they have
No,
picks.
They have picks, but they don't control them.
Okay.
The next 3 of the 5 years, they don't have first-round picks.
Okay, yeah.
The other 2 years, Utah owns pick swaps on them.
So they got-
so
They
They
can
get the
swap.
better of them.
So they don't got second round picks.
And
either.
there's a swap on the swap with Atlanta going back to the DeAndre trade.
Oh yeah.
So we can host twice.
Good.
Yeah, you get the worst of 3.
Yeah, we gonna
And
just
last
chill.
one,
Good times.
Bose Crow says injuries are a reason, not just an excuse. All right, Jay, what were you going to ask?
Is anybody else surprised that we haven't seen Tristan Thompson? Like, wouldn't he be an option to go in there and say, let's go? I think at the end of game 3, they put Johnson in.
Yeah, I was like,
to send a clear message. I'm like, oh, wow. He's going to get off the bench now, and it's going to really get interesting.
Can I give you my 2 cents on that real quick?
Yeah.
The Cavs already have enough guys on the court that can't score. If you
the game's over, though, Mike. It's a 41-point game.
Oh, in the fourth quarter, throw him in. Absolutely. But
yeah, I'm not talking about meaningful minutes.
I'm
talking
people
about
clamoring for Tristan early to send a message.
Yes, I'd be fine with that.
I can't get in on that early.
2 minutes.
Late.
Give me 2 minutes in the first quarter, and the tempo could completely change.
I think they're going to put him in pick and roll. He's going to be minus 12 in those 2 minutes, and we'll be looking at 20. Is it worth the 2 fouls you get? I don't think that.
Mike,
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, but in a 41-point halftime game, he's starting the third quarter
that point,
for me.
I'm fine with.
He is starting my third quarter.
I'm fine at that point.
And I'm saying, if you don't foul out in 3 minutes, you're off the team.
I think their get out of jail free card is hope that your boy Evan Mobley is a top 10 player next year.
He might be.
And if he is, none of this matters.
Well, he's going to have to take the same jump next year that he took this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's hard to do.
I believe he's capable of doing it.
All right.
But I thought it was going to show up in these playoffs, and it
has not.
hasn't yet.
Yeah. Been a ghost.
We'll see you in overtime coming up in about 3 minutes. Peace.
What are we doing in overtime?